Hey guys, how you thank y'all for tuning in? Easily Offended Podcast. We are tuning in right now. That is the second week in a row that I not hit this button.
Now, in all fairness, he normally is pretty good about it.
Yeah,
like two
it's
weeks.
just I just been so focused on the music, and I was like, all right, yeah, let me get this, and didn't hit the goddamn button. So we got two people in the building today. This is gonna be a head. You gotta put this in the edit, like just the crazy shit.
Yeah.
So we got Miss Washington here. There's a better half of Chris Washington, which is one of the co-hosts here on Easily Offended Podcast. Introduce yourself again. I'm sorry.
I'm Christina. I am a mom and an ER nurse. I've been an ER nurse for about 13 years in May. And I have the pleasure of working with D here. And
yeah, man.
He'll introduce himself.
Yeah.
Again.
There you go. Excuse me. I'm Dr. Abdullah Pratt. Most people know me as D. I have the honor of working here on Chicago Southside with Christina in the adult emergency department and trauma center. We've been there for 10 years now or so, and truly, the biggest blessing is that we both get to come from the Southside and we get to work taking care of our own people, and we get to fight for them, and we get to see those outcomes come the way that they come, for the good, the bad, the worst, the ugly.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a good podcast. We're gonna be really talking about some serious things, some ratchet stuff. This week you went out on the Black Violins out there in Joliet, which was great. You just celebrated a birthday.
Both did.
Y'all just found out y'all had birthday on the same day.
Both found out that they've been working together for 12 years.
Yeah.
And just found out their birthdays is the exact same day.
Facts.
That is crazy.
Completely.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Completely. Yeah. No,
that's nuts.
crazy.
And Rell, you're dealing with your lawyer shit.
Yeah, well, I am not a lawyer, as y'all know, but I work for a law firm on the tech side, and yeah, it's just been a lot of work these past few months that we're coming to an end, and hopefully I can get some semblance of my normal life back, because it's been pretty crazy. I have to go into the office every day, which is not normal for me. I typically work remote a lot of the time, so having
working from remote.
You said what now?
I said it's my dream to work remote, but it's not gonna happen as an ER.
Oh no. No.
Yeah. Nah. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. I didn't know what work-life balance was for real until I got my first remote job back in 2018. This was before the pandemic, where like everybody worked remote. Like it was really just like only certain people, so I could like go to the grocery store at 11 a.m. in the morning.
Absolutely.
And ain't nothing but like people 65 and over there.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? It was a beautiful thing.
Nobody's stealing your cartons and shit.
Yeah. He almost fought an old lady last week for a shopping cart.
You still beating people up for toilet paper?
Gee, I was in the grocery store, G.
Nigga had a flashback.
Man,
The last roll of two-ply.
I had my cart, G, and I'm sitting there trying to get some beer, just trying to look at it, and I turn around and the old lady just took it.
Right.
Like it was no carts outside. Like I literally walked to the last spot to find one, brought it in. Everybody else is standing by the door, like looking. I'm like, the lady took my shit, man.
Senior citizens discount, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't fight the old lady, man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And old people, I shouldn't say old people, senior citizens or seniors.
It may be a group out there like we're gonna flag them.
right. But I said they've earned the right to be assholes.
Absolutely.
When you get to that point, especially if you're older black, because if you're older black and you're in your 60s and 70s, you'd have had to deal with some shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
Sometimes, man, you got to let them slide, man. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Let me grab one up out of there first, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
sweetheart, can we break?
And the thing about it, she was so rude about it. She took what I had in there and put it on the counter, like on the little thing. Like I didn't mention that part. That was the other thing that just pissed me off. Like you knew it was somebody's cart. You knew it.
Oh yeah, she absolutely knew. She absolutely knew.
I didn't know she took the stuff out.
Yeah, like I only had one thing. She literally took my bell peppers out.
Yeah.
Like I'll just put these right here and just take this cart.
Yeah. No, it's just wild. I just realized. So your name is Christina, and you married a nigga named Chris.
Yes.
That's wild.
Oh, it gets better.
Please share. Please share. Because he doesn't tell us.
Talking to the mic. It's sanitized. I sprayed him down.
Yeah. He doesn't tell us any of this stuff. Yeah.
We met in preschool.
Wow.
And we went from preschool to 8th grade together.
Really?
Yes.
That's crazy. And then y'all met back up later, or?
Yes. After college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of the internet?
Actually, I ran into him at the gym.
Really?
Yeah.
Organically? Look at that.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
No,
I was just at the gym. Go ahead, man.
Are you going to the gym now?
I was actually at your gym.
Really?
I took yoga classes.
You took wow.
Yeah, yesterday I was there. A friend of mine, she does yoga.
Are you talking about Nay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been back and forth talking about stuff, and I've been, this year, I talked about getting my colon cleanse and doing all the good things this year. And
I ain't ready for that yet.
so I was like, I'm gonna start doing the yoga. I needed to stretch because the thing about it with me is that I get Charlie horses in the weirdest places, like in my chest. Like if I
You
cough,
got a Charlie horse in your chest?
yeah, it just tightens up and then it'll just go away.
I didn't know that was
know
possible,
about
bro.
that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. You
gotta
get,
be careful with that.
yeah. You got a Charlie horse in your chest. I don't know.
But it's
I've only heard of the calves.
but it's just like when I move a certain way. So it's probably not a Charlie horse, it's probably like a strain of muscle or something like that. But I was just getting it in the tune, and this summer I was like, I'm gonna start getting back on my bike a lot more and get a lot more cardio in, So a friend of mine was like, dude, you need to go stretch. Like when you're past 40, bro, like you need to stretch every day.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Just to work these bones out. So I went there yoga for 2 hours.
Yoga is hard.
It is.
Yoga is very
I
hard.
noticed I have no balance.
Yeah.
I was trying to do the poses. I have balance on one side of my body. It's just so weird.
Well, that's you're typically stronger on one side.
Yeah,
If you ride it right or left.
Right.
Dominant.
So that was my week. I had got a pleasure to seeing a concert. Ashanti, Monica, Silk, Danny Boy, and Tamara Braxton at my job at Wintrust. So that was a good little show. Monica can really sing in real life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she can. She absolutely can.
Beautifully. And you know what upset me was 702 was there, right? And it was just a black girl.
The other two members are no longer with us.
Wait, both of them passed away?
Yes.
I just thought one passed away.
Like I know Iris passed.
One, years ago.
Yeah, Iris passed a long time ago, and then the other one just passed a few years.
Okay, so I'm not mad then. 'Cause
I mean, you can be mad.
I was
You can
sitting
be
like-
mad for the right reason.
I was like, Stanley, look, wait, that's not her. And I'm zooming
But
in like
she didn't do like the Temptations, just get some other motherfuckers to sing.
she had somebody there with her.
Okay, so
But it wasn't.
It wasn't. Yeah. I was just like, damn, you couldn't find like another, like make it three. Like it's just two of y'all. Okay. The crowd was like kind of pissed off about it. You know what I'm saying? But it was.
well,
good.
how can you be pissed off? They did.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you had to know if you coming to see
You ain't no
702,
real
right?
fan. Them real
Yeah.
fans was out there mad.
And actually, I was at your job Tuesday at Sears Tower.
I don't work at the Sears Tower anymore.
To Willis Tower. I mean, but yeah, but
That was my old firm.
your old firm.
Yeah.
Right. I went there because I was recruited for the Metropolitan Club,
Okay.
which was like a club like they have the 66 and the 67th floor.
Yeah, I know that.
And it's like a private club. You pay like $180 a month. But I was sitting there and they had a blazer and sneaker type meet and greet thing to see if you like the facility. So I go. Of course, it's like half off on drinks. Sold me right there. Cool. Old fashions all day. But then they had a whole bunch of 18, 19-year-olds from Loyola University that was there, right? And they all in suits and like sneakers and stuff. But like, it was weird because I get to the bar and some random kid walked up to me like, hey, how you doing? I'm good, man. What's going on with you? So what brings you here today? I tell them, Metropolitan Club, just checking it out. Oh, wow. What do you do for a living? I tell him what I do for a living. What do you do? Oh, I'm a student. Oh, okay, cool. That's what's up. He tells me his whole background. Then he asks me, what is a tool that you would give me in life? Give me some advice. I'm like, I don't.
Pull out.
Exactly. I told him, do not have kids until like you after 20. Like, let your 20s just go by.
Right.
Then have kids and settle down and stuff like that. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, this is what you do. But it was just so random. Like, they just kept coming up to me. And like, the older people that was there that was already members was there telling me about the great things about the club. Me personally, it was a good experience. It was a lot of us in there.
Okay.
So I was happy about that. They do have some great things to offer. They do have different clubs and stuff like that. And the lady was telling me it's good to just be a part of this circle. You meet a lot of different people. So they have a whiskey club, they got a cigar club, golf club, arts and craft club, whatever. So they was like, you're good. But I was like, yeah, $180 a month. I just can't see myself paying for that right now. And y'all don't even have a food and beverage club, like type situation. Maybe I should be the start of that. I don't know. But I was just like, I don't see the real benefit of it with me. But yeah, it was cool though. I mean, it was a good week though. You know what I'm saying? Very good weeks. We got some.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, man. We got some good things coming up this year. Of course, everybody knows High Park Summerfest is not here. So we do have some Chicago festivals that are lined up. Lollapalooza just dropped their lineup for August 1st to the 4th. They got Tyler Creator, SZA, Blink-182, The Killers, Future, and Metro Boomin, which is the album is very ridiculously great. And I'm so mad that I did not press record so you guys can hear that intro.
Go back and edit that in.
Right.
Killer Mike, Vince Staples, Teddy Swims, which is another dude I really like. Teddy Swims. Teddy Swims.
I'm not up on Teddy Swims.
You're not up on Teddy Swims?
I should look him up. He's very good.
Yes,
he doesn't look the way that he sounds at all.
Okay.
But
he doesn't.
What is it? Hip hop? Is it?
He's a singer.
It's more like a
Soul singer.
Teddy Swims.
But he has he's a white dude. Is he bald head? Kind of like. Does he have the George Costanza thing going, like the middle part going? And I don't know.
Now that you've asked me that, I literally cannot picture the top of his head.
Yeah,
I know what he looks like, and I can hear him, but I cannot.
So you got some Bobby Caldwell shit going on?
Yeah, and he's tatted up. So like, if you see him, you'd be like, oh, he's obviously a producer or a rapper or some shit like that. But the man has vocals that are crazy.
Okay.
But
Teddy Swims.
Teddy Swims. He would be there. Pitchfork Festival, I'm kind of upset with that. They only got one hip hop act really, which is De La Soul. They got Alanis Morissette that I'm kind of anxious to see that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I as you get older, you just bring back those 80s vibes or whatever. So like those early
She
90s.
was the 90s, but continue.
The 90s vibes. But, I've been going back to like fucking Hall & Oates. I've been playing a lot of fucking Hall & Oates and Bobby Caldwell lately. Like, in the past week.
The Blue Eyed Soul.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so those are the festivals that's popping up. Once again, Lollapalooza is August 1st to the 4th. Chicago Pitchfork Festival is July 19th and the 21st. So y'all just make sure y'all check those out.
Ain't no black festivals, though, so we just...
Are you allergic to cats?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. We all just going to have to meet up at the lakefront on 39th one day. We just going to have to designate a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is nigga day on 39th and the lakefront. Let's all come up there.
It's June 19th.
Juneteenth. Well, yeah, Juneteenth.
Take over the Midway, man. We get this popping. Get Washington Park popping.
Right.
Man, just take that shit up. I mean, I'm just saying, Cinco de Mayo, they do it.
Yeah.
They go ham.
Hey, Cinco de Mayo, Mexican Independence Day, they be shutting down the expressways and all that.
My son's prom is the same day as Cinco de Mayo, and his friends are like, they don't get it.
Yeah.
They like, oh no, we can go downtown and eat. No, you can't go downtown and eat.
They're gonna have it shut down.
Where are you gonna eat at? One thing, all restaurants are closed by 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gonna have it shut down. Where's his prom at?
His prom is at Museum of Science and Industry.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so he on the south side. Just tell him to stay south.
Yeah, you're gonna have to stay south.
Yeah.
Well, he goes to home with Flossmoor, but
He can stay south.
their prom is there. I was just like, that downtown thing's it's not gonna happen.
Get him a little hotel room right here on 53rd or something, and he just keep it in the area.
No.
I didn't know Tyler go to HF. Mm-hmm. Really?
Home with Flossmoor, yep.
They're classmates.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, 'cause she go to HF. She a freshman though.
Oh, that's crazy. What? My son Tyler goes to home with Flossmoor. He's a senior. I never knew that. Yeah. I got to introduce you.
I know, right?
Right, birthdays.
Let's start there. We supposed to have been on this podcast.
Yeah. This is crazy.
But yeah, man, that's on us. What do we got going on today, man? I know you got some crazy news for us.
I got a couple of things. Got two as usual. None in the state of Florida. So like 95% of the time, the stories I find all come from the state of Florida.
Okay.
We all know Florida is just another planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida is wild.
Shout out to everybody in Florida that listens. You know where you live at.
And my sister.
Yeah. This is actually still in the South though, in New Orleans.
Okay.
Rats are eating marijuana.
In what context?
Here we go. So rats have managed to get into an evidence room at decaying police headquarters and have been eating confiscated marijuana.
Motherfuckers high as shit.
Some big old rats. They in there slamming something too. They hungry.
The aging offices of the police department in New Orleans are so dilapidated and vermin infested that the animals managed to get into an evidence lockup room, according to police superintendent Ann Kilpatrick. The rats are eating our marijuana. They're all so high, she told the told the city council members on Wednesday. The uncleanliness in the building is off the charts. Rat droppings have been found on officers' desk, Ms. Kilpatrick said, adding that the building where the department has been based since 1968 has been taken over by mold and cockroaches.
Wow. That's
Ron Harrison, Global Technical Director for Orc and Pest Control, said he hadn't heard of rats eating marijuana before. Now, I said that because I think this is bullshit.
Okay. Wait.
Right. I think Miss Kilpatrick is out here moving weight.
It's missing.
Right. So perfect excuse. The rats ate the marijuana.
Right.
She ran off on the plug.
Oh yeah, shit, man. Miss Kilpatrick out there got ounces for the low.
she ran off with the plug.
I think that's bullshit. Ain't no rats eating no weed.
Man, it ain't no irony then in the building that make rats.
Right.
That you got rats.
Right.
Oh, that's even more crazy.
Yeah.
Motherfucking rats in the fucking the kitchen eating up all the snacks and shit.
Right.
Who ate all goddamn donut?
Right. It's a rat that gave you the tip on where to find the marijuana. That's what a rat is.
Hey, go over there third shelf. That Kush, my nigga, fire.
I will say that the rats in New Orleans are a different kind of rat. They're not scared of people. They're just outside.
Really?
So I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, yeah, because
New Orleans rats are different.
New Orleans, I think, just structurally, they don't have basements.
No, because the ground is too saturated. That's why they can't bury the dead. All the graves are above ground.
Right. So that.
Because it's basically a swamp. The New Orleans is built on top of swamp
So
land.
everything's on the ground. So I would, that's the rats would just be up there with you, just chilling.
They just hanging out.
Yeah.
They ain't going to no sewers.
Ain't no sewers. Wait, well, there has to be some sort of sewers. Yeah, there has to be some sort of sewer system. That's right. Yeah, this ain't medieval times. You got no outhouses. They just burying in the backyard.
Well, that's high as shit, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
High as fuck. Do y'all got weed at y'all hospital?
You gotta talk to the rats on that.
Right.
We don't have them rats. Me and Tina don't know no rats. We don't know no rats.
That shit was like, remember on Half Baked when he was working at the hospital?
Yes, that's exactly what I thought about.
He was going to get the prescription for the scientists.
That's exactly what I thought. Like, I want to do University of Chicago have like a room full of weed. What would they have it for?
Moving on.
Okay.
Next story. Man was found to have tapeworms on his brain.
Can happen.
This is something that happens, right?
How do you get a tapeworm?
So man's brain tapeworms when worsening migraines, possibly caused by undercooked bacon. That's why I say no pork on my fork. Tapeworm eggs found in the brain of a man who suffered severe migraines are believed to have been caused by undercooked bacon. The 50-year-old American consulted doctors after his usual migraines became more frequent and severe and were not responding to medication. Scans revealed a number of tapeworm eggs in his brain. The man was diagnosed with neurocysticercosis. I think I pronounced that correctly. Caused by tenacious. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I fucked that one up. TAENIASIS. So, yeah, that. A form of infection formed from larval cyst of the pork tapeworm, which can get into the tissue such as muscles and brain. Researchers said that the man had not traveled to any high-risk areas. The tapeworms had not traveled to any high-risk areas. On further questioning, the patient denied eating raw or street food, but admitted to a habit of eating lightly cooked, non-crispy bacon for most of his life.
It's disgusting.
Yes, very disgusting.
So he was like half cooking.
He wasn't even cooking that.
He wasn't even cooking. He was basically just warming up raw bacon and eating it.
Yeah, it's like when you eat lunch meat. But bacon ain't lunch meat.
Nah.
It hit different when you eat raw pig like that.
Yeah. It's not cured or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, that's fresh.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy, man.
So not only are you out here eating swine, but you're eating raw swine. You just want to die.
That's nuts. Ugh. Just tapeworms in the brain.
But you know, when we were trying to get off of pork for so many generations, and people would say that, they would say, well, that's just tinfoil hatisms. Y'all just don't want us eating pork. How we know it ain't no worms in beef? How we know it ain't no worms in chicken? And so as we talk about this subject today, part of the reality of these things is that when we have news about things that are healthy or unhealthy, we as a community sometimes got to get out our own way. The fact that we even still eating pork, when like you go to any doctor, that's usually one of the first things they telling you, especially undercooked. Like you can't be eating no undercooked pork when you know. I mean, how many times you got to watch the YouTube video of them, some worms coming out? Oh, that's fake. Everything is fake news when it's something that you want to do.
I love pepperoni.
Nah, but the nation been putting us up on that. Them strychnine worms.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For a long time.
Absolutely.
Like since that's why I stopped eating pork.
I can't give up pepperoni.
It's beef pepperoni.
It's turkey pepperoni.
Pepperoni is about the seasoning, not the meat.
A lot of pizza places they don't have turkey pepperoni.
That's true. You know, some of the Muslim pizza places they lie to our people because they know that our people only want the pork. I literally run across people and they're, the Akbars, the Muhammads, and they'll be like, no, Brother Abdullah, this is all turkey or beef. I'm like, really? Why? It doesn't say that on your sign. That's because if I put that, black people won't buy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy.
Well, shout out to Italian Fiesta. They got turkey sausage.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
fire.
Giordano's actually has very good chicken sausage. That's what got me started eating back Giordano's. And I swear to God, the first time I got it, because my man put me, Mike put me up on it. You know what I'm saying? And I went and got it. He's like, man, you got to try this shit. It tastes just like swine. You know what I'm saying? Because we all remember what it used to taste like.
Yeah.
Because Italian Fiesta, the sausage pizza, when we was at Shorty's, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember I bought it, and I had to check the receipt. Like, did that sure that they not give me swine? Nah, G, it's chicken. You know what I'm saying? And it tastes great. There are many substitutes. You got turkey chops. Turkey bacon is trash.
It is.
I would add, it's just
because it's not bacon.
Yeah, exactly. You know
Wait. I just had turkey bacon. What the hell is you?
Nah, turkey bacon's trash, G.
Turkey bacon is a waste of time and effort. And
What?
It's just not
It's
right.
It's like imitation crab.
If I'm going to not
You got-
eat bacon, I'm just not eating bacon. Forget turkey.
No. You got to get the thick cut. Turkey
It's just like
bacon.
light beer. Like
I wouldn't even say that. I would say
chewy,
it's an imitation.
It's
It's an imitation because it's not
the
bacon.
The texture's not right. They could just leave turkey bacon alone and leave it where it is and never make it.
now turkey chops, on the other hand, are delicious.
Well, on the point of the bacon, beef bacon, from what I understand from butchers, is the best bacon.
Yeah.
If you want a bacon, you go with beef bacon, and it's real bacon. What I was saying about the turkey bacon, that's not that's not cutting meat off the ribs and the fat layer of a turkey. That's not how they get it. It's made up, kind of like a hot dog. Like they take all the little stuff and they put it together.
Exactly.
All the little
I
giblets.
I eat turkey bacon, right? But it ain't like something
know,
I just
Yeah, I just had turkey bacon this morning.
I've never had swine bacon, so I wouldn't even know.
You've never had it?
Never.
Okay.
Every once in a while, every blue moon, I be at work and they be having bacon. I be like, let me get a couple pieces.
I ain't had no pork since I was a teenager, bro. It's
a couple pieces of that.
It's been a long time. But just be careful.
Yeah.
Make sure it's cooked all the way.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fucking
You end up
insane.
in the emergency room.
Yeah.
They got to treat your ass for brain worms.
Right.
Man.
So, a quick question. So what's like, because I know like y'all see a lot of shit coming from emergency rooms, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of like.
Oh, wait, before we got to do the Freaknik thing. We don't want to go into.
Yeah, no, we gonna go into that. Just one quick question, because while we're on the subject,
Right.
So you said y'all see a lot of shit, right? So I'll be watching shows about like people who like and did something weird during sex and ended up in the emergency room somehow. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you see a lot of tragic things, but I'm sure sometimes you see something that comes to that might make you giggle a little bit. Can y'all share something that y'all may have seen?
Like, what the fuck was she thinking?
It wasn't this whole situation was just like, wait, what happened? Okay, so a girl came to the hospital, the ambulance, and she was like, oh, my brother bit off my bottom lip.
I'm sorry.
I
Wait.
was like, wait, what?
And so
she was the calmest person I've ever seen. And then she had the lip in her hand. She was like, oh, I figured they would need it when they brought me to the hospital. I said, oh.
She have it on ice.
She didn't have it on ice. But the paramedics, you're not supposed to put it on ice, actually. But the paramedics prepared it right. They put it in a little wet paper towel and put it in a bag and then put it on ice. But the fact that she said, I saw it on the couch and I just grabbed it, because I figured they would need it at the hospital.
Absolutely.
I've never seen anything like it since then. I was like, wait, what?
So her bottom lip was completely off?
It was gone.
Jeez.
And they actually put it back on because she grabbed her lip and they were able to reimplant it.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty.
You know, remember, you know, our parents used to say when we were sad, you pick your lip up off the ground. Wow. like she really took that to heart. Like
They might need this.
Right. That's crazy.
How would I go through life without a bottom lip?
She ain't giving nobody lip no more.
You want to suck my what with that?
I
No.
would have been losing my mind, but I was like, she was so calm. That's the part that just meant like, girl.
That's pretty insane.
What was y'all doing?
I guess they were arguing.
And he just, I guess he was that close. He just, okay.
I don't know. They were arguing, and he bit off her lip in the process.
Well, I am legend on him. Down
Yeah,
dead.
jeez, wow.
Face bite.
I would never.
Bad soap.
That relationship would never be the same.
I mean,
Ever.
Like, remember that time you bit my lip?
Right.
Right. Like,
Where do you go
right.
from there?
That's not a story y'all laugh about on Christmas. Like, hey, remember back in '97 when you bit my lip off? That was crazy.
Everything gonna like Tina say. Everything gonna lead in that conversation. Like, hey, you know, somebody got CarMax. Well, I wouldn't need no CarMax. His ass.
Right.
I know. I was watching. So like, and I was telling off camera. I got into The Resident, right? That show, and it was a patient there that they had that came there very often, and I guess the new doctor, he was a resident, so he was like his first year. So they was like, "Oh, you're gonna take this one," and he was like, "What?" And he was like, "You're gonna have a good time with that." So this guy sticks things up his butt as a pleasure, and he comes to the doctors and get it out.
Yeah.
He put the maple syrup lady, Miss Butterworth, in his rectum.
Oh,
Was it the new age Miss Butterworth?
Yeah.
Or the thick?
It was the new age. It was the new age with the arms and everything.
Yeah.
You know what
so
I'm saying?
was it the glass or the plastic?
It was the
used
plastic.
to be glass.
It was the
Okay.
plastic.
Okay.
That's the old
But it was in
Right,
him.
the old school
and,
glass, yeah.
and he looked at the X-ray like, how? He's like, have fun with that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What they call that shit now? I know it's not Mrs. Butterworth no more. That's one of the things that they gave us during 2020 that we didn't ask for.
or something like that.
They just name it of the brand. I think.
Yeah,
It's
something.
Whatever
Yeah.
syrup.
Because
Maple
somehow
syrup.
Mrs. Butterworth was racist.
Yeah, because we didn't control it.
Oh,
You
no,
know
it
what I'm
was
saying?
Aunt Jemima that was.
Aunt
Aunt
Jemima.
Jemima. It was Aunt Jemima. Right.
I thought them was all the same. Them all came out the same time. No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that was crazy.
We used to have the bottle used to talk. But that was
Yeah,
Miss
on the commercial.
Butterworth. Miss Butterworth
That was
used to
Miss-
talk.
yeah.
Yeah, that was
Syrup.
Fire.
yeah.
Nah, but to your point though, Neil, we actually had the honor of working with with a physician who writes on that show, who writes the show "Sex Brought Me to the ER." One of our former colleagues, Amy Ho.
Okay.
So Amy
Wow.
is a writer.
Okay.
She's is an amazing emergency room doc herself, and literally took a lot of those stories. She was funny like that. She was real funny.
Right.
So she would take all those stories, and now she literally writes and produces, and she's an actor on the show.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember when I was in my 20s, in my hot phases.
Oh boy.
I had to rush the girl to the emergency room because we lost the condom,
Yeah,
and
happens.
it was just in there.
Very common.
Like I was like, no, I put it off. She, no, you did. Yes, I did. And we went through a whole. I'm like, you got to go to the doctor. Like that shit just cannot just sit there. So she's like, no, it will come out. I'm like, no, it's not. We going. And it was a very, very fun time to sit there and be like, the nurse was like, so what brings you guys in? So I was drinking last night and we was playing some music.
Tried to wear a condom that was too big. Slid off.
Things happened. Condom was just, and I think I did go like extra large magnum, like, and I just really like
Tweaking.
sorry.
You talking to healthcare professionals?
Right.
This
They
what we
ain't heard
do.
this
You
shit
know
at
what?
all, bro.
Look, I tell you like this: when I go to the doctor and I get checked up, this is the last thing before we go to the next topic. When I go to the doctor, I remember once I went to the doctor and they gave me this fine ass nurse, and I was like, "No." They was like, "What?" I'm like, "Nah, give me Bethel." Give me some old lady.
You ain't got no Helgas back
You
there.
know what I'm saying? Give me some old lady. You can't bring this girl in here. She fine as hell.
Where Miss
She
Gertrude
didn't
at?
want you. Don't worry.
But still, like
Trying to get through the encounter.
the embarrassment,
Right.
like if you,
So,
she tell you like
she
pull
not
your
worried
pants
about
down
that.
and you just get erected. Like I didn't want to be that in that awkward situation.
Listen,
I'm
the,
sure-
the older lady gonna make you feel worse.
I'm fine with.
The older nurse, she the one that don't hold back. The young nurse probably got
No.
some manners about her. She
I'm
probably,
fine with that. I just don't want this fine lady like
Oh, bless your heart.
right, to sit there and look at me.
Right,
Be like,
right.
Can you take your pants off? And let me,
Cold in here, huh?
Nope. And they thought I was playing. I was like, I'm dead serious. I'm not. She's not finna come here. I will get aroused.
Oh, boy.
And I do not want this to be an awkward situation.
Well, to keep it 100, the reality of things is we see a lot of that on the flip side. So we see a lot of our patients who are young, whatever, and they go on, spreading whatever, suffering through whatever healthcare conditions because of that same embarrassment. So, it's one of them things we really try. No, bro, you come in for a problem down there and you like, so I have to take off my pants. Yes, sir. You came in for the problem.
Wait, I didn't have no issue.
Gotta
It was
check
just
you
like your
out.
normal checkup situation. But I was just like, you ain't finna put those pretty hands
check
on my
you out.
balls and tell me to cough. I'm sorry.
Speaking of freaky things, Freaknik.
Freaknik documentary. We talked about this on the pod when we first got wind of this documentary coming out. We made fun like, oh, you gonna see your aunties, or your grandma, your mother, your all types of wild shit. Mm-hmm. So I dived in.
How long is it?
It's about an hour and 30 minutes.
Okay.
So it's on Hulu, and I thought it was going to be, it wasn't. So they basically brought it up where 5 black students at the time in 1983 came up with the thing of during spring break they had nothing to do. So this was around the time where HBCUs, it's the AUC Atlanta University Center, which has Spelman, Clark University, Morris Brown, and Morehouse. They like right in the same
campus.
Right.
vicinity.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we couldn't afford to go home. You know what I'm saying? Or we couldn't afford to go to Miami, where all the other college kids went. So she was like, we got together. Her name was Emma Horton, Monique Tolliver, and Amada Boone, which is a guy. And they had 2 other people that didn't give out their name for I don't know what reason they didn't. But they was like, we decided to throw a barbecue. And we're gonna have this barbecue. That's Claudius. We're gonna have this barbecue in Piedmont Park, and we're just gonna hang out.
Piedmont
Park. Piedmont Park. And that's where it started, 1983. So it started off with it was 20, 30 of us, the first year. But people donated money for it to happen. So then to get the food and everything. So it just kind of escalated from that point on. Right? So they made it a point to say that the rise started with over the years of, in 1992, that's when it really started getting this momentum. So she was like, by 89, we started seeing a influx of people. Like, oh, this is getting big. But with Atlanta also coming on the hip hop scene in 1992 with Jermaine Dupri's label So Def, it kind of brought another element to it. You had Outkast, you had Goody Mob, the Dungeon Family. You know what I'm saying? And then that's where kind of Atlanta met and conjugated. And that's when all the Atlanta artists found that it was a good way to go to Freaknik and pass out the material. So one of the guys for Dungeon Family, we put up a sample cassette and only had Peaches and Herb, Southern Playalistic, Players Ball. It only played about 45 seconds of each record, but we just passed them out because we knew all these different college kids was traveling from Chicago, LA, Houston, New York, North Carolina, Mississippi, all into this one area. And they was like, this is a good way for us to just give out our music and kind of put Atlanta on a musical map and get the respect that they deserve. So it was crazy that the way they talked about it and how it started up, it was great. And it was just really a time where black college students got together and just had a ball. You know what I'm saying? She was like, it was nothing sexual about it at all. The only reason why we named it Freaknik, because if you know the history of the word picnic, right, we didn't want to go use that word. So we was just like, we had started doing like these small events because it was a hit song that Freak Out had came out around that time. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And she's like, we saw that and we was like, well, let's start doing parties and celebrate this disco music type of style. So leading up to the first picnic, all their parties had Freak in it.
Yeah.
And when they was sitting there trying to figure out like, what should we call this spring break thing? And they named it Freaknik. So she like, that's how the name came about. So she like, it had nothing to do with sex at all. It was just all the black kids get together to have a great fucking time and just hang out and just, you know, meet people. Now, this is where Luke comes in. Luke brings the freaky shit to Freaknik.
That's what Luke is known for.
He had a hit song in 1993 called Daisy Dukes. Look at the girl with the Daisy Dukes song. I want you to. Look at the girl with the Daisy Dukes song. So, in 93, every girl had Daisy Dukes. And they was popping that thing on top of cars and all types of just crazy wild shit. So, over the years, they talked about like they didn't have really a lot of sexual assault situations. You know, it was a very respectful time and during that time in the mid-90s, even though with that song being as sexually motivated, it was still respect. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't guys just randomly grabbing girls' butts and tits or whatever the case may be. Right. It was more of like, you know, hang out, let's dance, and everybody got the video cameras and everybody bring their cars out. So it just really came into that era. And Luke, you know, on the documentary, he was like, you know, I didn't want to bring that type of element to it. It's just what it was. His music was heavily sexually. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, but it was also a great time, and it made me think about here in Chicago, we have the Chosen Few picnic, right, where it's house music and how that started off. And they go throughout the history of 94 was like the best year. It was really popping. And that was when Atlanta realized that, shit, we can't control it. Mm-hmm. And as we all know, in 1996, they won the Olympics.
Yeah.
So things had to be changed.
Clean it up.
So they tried to change it up. Another gentleman stepped in and was like, we're going to call it Black Spring Break Week.
Sounds appropriate. So
just to get away from the Freaknik. And they started doing that, but it didn't really work out the way they wanted to work out because the city was like, look, we just got the fucking Olympics. And granted that millions of kids travel to Atlanta and some even move here later after college because they had such a good time here. They come here to start families. You got 1 million people coming to Atlanta for this thing, but the Olympics brings in 20 million people. Freaknik grossed over $20 million in the height of its reign, where the city was making a lot of money. People were shopping, entrepreneurship, cars, rented cars. Even people was renting out their cribs, like the first Airbnb type shit. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there was never a time where, in this day and age, where you can get 4 black girls or 4 black guys, like, look, we're finna get on the road and drive here. Mm-hmm. That's unheard of. You know what I'm saying? Like, the highways was so packed and it was so full of people coming into the city. So basically, they made a decision to kill it in 1999. 97 and 98 was the worst times of Freaknik because that's when a lot of rape situations was going on, a lot of sexual assaults. It was no longer college students; it was grown men.
Ain't that when Diddy started going down there?
You know, I mean.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the stuff, you know, and this is the conversation we have with today's generation, which is how much of this is propaganda that's pushed on our community versus how much are we demanding it, right? How much if you gather a group of youth, how many of them when Luke was popping was like, no, we got to have Luke down here. We not having Luke going on. We don't want it. And somebody could have come along and be like, hey, you know what? You know, maybe that's a little much. You know, we want to make sure this stays. So, no, forget that. You're trying to control us. And then we get down these paths where then we look back and we're like, man, where did we go wrong? And a lot of times it comes down to purely what do we want? Do we really acknowledge the stuff me and Christina see every day? See, we see rape culture every day. We understand that you put liquor, you put uncontrolled situations, and you do this, and you put girls, it's gonna happen, right? And it's a culture. So when women say that there's a culture of it, it's a culture that extends to everybody, from the men that go down there to their friends. How many times do we hear young ladies come in and they're like, my friend set me up, left me with these dudes on purpose. She went and did X, Y, and Z. I look up, my phone's dead. I don't know none of these people. And now I'm waking up not knowing what happened to me. So it's a culture, whether it's the guys that go down there like, hey, I'm going for degeneracy. I'm going to do whatever I want to do and not get caught. Yeah. Or is it and the other side is how many people go down there thinking I'm going to do this. My friend, she's not really about that, but whatever, she going to be about that now. So we see that with traveling with girls, trip going to Mexico. How protected are we in these spaces when we fight for just, free willy-nilly with the culture?
And they even brought up one dude, one of the Jermaine Dupri, he was talking about it got such of a bad rap, but he was like, it was so crazy to me that they didn't talk about South Beach with all the white kids.
Absolutely.
Same shit goes
Same
on.
thing.
Yeah.
Same dancing, same naked people, a lot of things going on. They didn't police that. But they police us to the point where in 97, it was so bad that in 96, it was so bad that they rerouted everybody from downtown. So it's similar how Cinco de Mayo is here in Chicago, where they shut down downtown.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They made people. So he was like, bro, the expressways was damn near 4 hours long. People was just on the expressway, and they had them all the exits blocked off to go downtown, and people just got irritated because they come here to party and hang out and have a good time, but they can't get to the party and have a good time because it's traffic everywhere.
And the irony in that, they spent all that time policing Freaknik. Y'all remember what happened at the Olympics in 96? Mm-hmm. Dude set that bomb off?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So you worried about the wrong shit, obviously.
Yeah. So one of the guys was man, it was a business decision.
Yeah. Which it usually is.
$20 billion coming to this, $2 billion coming to the city, or just $1 million.
I mean, you think about if Chicago would have got the Olympics.
I tell people that all the time. I want to do a documentary on that because I remember it vividly. As someone who fights violence, and we sitting right here across from Washington Park, you got to think what this whole community would have been like.
Yeah.
Because the changes that would have come through having the Olympics would have been too fast to fully gentrify.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have been able to just willy-nilly move people out within a 6 to 8 year period.
Right.
So now the community may have been able to benefit from these changes if it's plotted the right way. If those of us are awake enough to go through it. But if you remember the street politics that led to us losing the Olympics when Darian Albert got killed at Finger. So you get a kid the same weekend. We're the front runners. We spend so many tax dollars as a city to be front runners for the Olympics. We're the front runners to the very last day.
Yeah.
When the Friday before the vote happens, when the voters are in town, a kid goes viral on YouTube. This is the first viral video I remember on YouTube.
Yeah.
Was our young brother Albert getting hit in the head with a 2x4 trying to break up a fight. And for him to be a straight A student at a school like Finger and to be trying to do the right thing and got killed, that put such a sully. I remember the whole city, everybody was like, what happened?
Yeah.
Then Monday we lose the Olympics.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff, when we look back, the misses in our city, when every time we get a kid that's dead, every time we get a young person that's shot or killed in Washington Park, and you got to think, this is the epicenter of violence in Chicago. You got 051, 046, Front Street, STL, O Block, all around this park with our trauma center right there next to it. Yeah. So these things you bring up are poignant.
So if we can shift real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you speak about the trauma center, right?
Absolutely.
And another pivotal death that led to that was Damian Turner. Right?
Yeah.
So Damian Turner got killed. He was shot, went into the ambulance just fine. So for a long time, there was no trauma center on the south side.
Right. My whole life. I was born in 89. The trauma center closed in 88.
Right. Yeah, so I was born in 82 for 6 years. So for most of my life, there was no trauma center on the south side where a lot of traumatic shit happens, right? So Damian Turner was shot in Woodlawn.
Absolutely. He was shot 2 blocks from Chicago Hospital.
Right. Yeah, he was shot in Woodlawn, and then they were transporting him to Northwestern Hospital because that was the closest trauma center.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So which is a nice ride. It's not too bad, but depending on, traffic, anything, it's a nice amount of miles to be able to travel with somebody with a gunshot wound. And he ended up dying on the way. Right? Now, you can't say for certain whether or not he would have made it had he been there, but he would have had a much better chance.
Listen, it hit different when your ride to the hospital is 45 seconds versus 45 minutes.
Exactly.
So we understand exactly what you're saying. And and maybe even Christina's been a charge nurse through that process of going between us being a non-trauma center, non-level 1 trauma center to a trauma center. But I'd be interested to see like what did that feel like for you as someone who was in charge, who was a leader, as a young leader of the ER.
So I started at another trauma center on the west side before I started at University of Chicago. And when I transitioned over, it wasn't a trauma center. And so the whole time they were like, oh, okay, we're about to build a new ER. It'll probably be a trauma center. At one point, it was supposed to go to Holy Cross. Mm-hmm. So it was like kind of up in the air. But I felt strongly that we needed a trauma center because it's like, for example, I grew up in South Shore. If I get shot in South Shore, I either got to go to Northwestern or I have to go to Christ. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That's a long way. That's a long way. So it's something that was absolutely needed in this area because there's a lot of patients. We had a lot of trauma.
Absolutely.
South Shore, Chatham, all of that. Literally had to travel too far to get care. And seeing it transition from just like a ER, we've seen our volume go up so much from what we had pre-trauma hospital to what we see now. And the summertime is.
It was a lot of controversy with that because it was people marching,
absolutely,
like protests, like we need this here.
Well, the irony was he was a community organizing that was advocating for a trauma center.
Absolutely,
wow,
right.
Right, which is the reason why it popped off, and that's what people have to know. So let's start with the fact that what a level 1 trauma center is. For people who may not know, it is a hospital designation that allows you to take care of any and every type of major injury. So that means you have to have a brain surgeon on staff 24/7. You have to have orthopedic surgeon. You have to have nurses who are trained and experts on how to deal with trauma, how to do blood, how to get these procedures. So these are the best of the best nurses. Like literally, you don't get better nurses than those who do emergency medicine or trauma. But as Chicago, for my whole life and for most of our lives, led the country community by community in violence. If you take the communities we grew up in, South Shore, over East, Inglewood, Auburn Gresham, Chatham, Roseland, Austin on the west side, East Garfield Park, Lawndale, all of these communities individually rank amongst the top in violence, even in themselves, where you couldn't go to a more violent community in the country, but yet you don't have a single hospital to take care of that. But you go on the north side of Chicago where you have some of the least violence in the country. So you're talking about Streeterville, you're talking about Lincoln Park. Between Streeterville and Lincoln Park, you had 5 to 6 trauma centers. 5 to 6.
5 to 6 trauma centers up north?
That were not getting no trauma. They were just getting our trickles-ons that came down from us.
That's crazy.
The people that made it.
So when we talk about words like diversity, inclusion, equity, the equity is so much more important because that means you meet a problem with the solution that's equal and proportional to it. So for every action, it has to be equal opposite reaction. So when our kids were dying for years as projects were open, as projects closed, as people moved around, there was no response to the problem, yet people were running our kids' faces on headlines. People were talking about Lil Yummy. People talking about the projects. They talking about the tearing down the IWL's O Block, but yet you don't see the response, and that's what we see. So we're sitting there having to tell these mothers that their baby is gone, they're not coming back. Sometimes our own friends and loved ones. Yeah. We take care of our own people in there, but we don't see the response from the system that would make it seem like we're trying to take it seriously.
That is it's so intense of the stuff that goes on in the hood because on Instagram, I think I watch Chi-Town Crime Chasers.
Yeah, Crime Chasers. It's a good brother.
Yeah, and he goes, he reports it right when it happened. Like, yo, shots fired, gunshot wound.
He the original street news reporter.
Yeah,
all these kids you see nowadays, the original was Crime Chaser.
Yeah, and I was just like, yo, like this is not. And I got a 17-year-old kid that goes to Kenwood that lives in this area, so I always be like I got the tracking device on him and everything. I'd be very aware of his whereabouts. Like, where you at? And then even when I hear shit that goes on, I instantly call him. Hey, man, you good? You straight? Yeah, I'm cool. What happened? This happened, so just be on the lookout. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just be aware of your surroundings because it could be retaliation coming back within minutes or hours. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? And dealing with that. So let me dig back a little bit. What made you get into medical? What made you
sparked the idea, like,
Mine is a little long, but so my mom is a nurse. She actually worked at the University of Chicago when I was growing up. Throughout my life, she was like, "Oh, go to medical school, go to medical school," and that was initially my plan when I went to college. However, I'll tell you how old I am, but when my first
well, you're 25 today. We're gonna say
semester in college, Hurricane Katrina happened, and so I was in New Orleans, and then I came home. But I ended up in Atlanta with my sister because that's where she was going to school. So during this time period, my sister ended up getting sick. We went to the emergency department, and they told her like that she had gastritis. And I was like, I don't think that's what it was. She was drinking like a couple nights before that, but it was something that shouldn't have lasted as long as it had. And I was just like kind of skeptical, like I don't know if that's what it is, because these questions that she's answering, that she's saying no to, this can't possibly be what she got. But we went home with the medication. She was taking it. Still wasn't getting better. So at this point, it's like a week goes past. My sister, she's not eating. She's not drinking. She's confused. And I was just like calling my mom, because my mom was in Chicago at the time. I'm like, something is not right. We need to go back to the doctor. So we made an appointment for her to go to the doctor. She went to the doctor. The doctor was like, absolutely not. She needs to go to the emergency department. So we go back to the emergency department. They had to wait in the waiting area for a little bit. And I kind of feel like they were like, oh, well, she young. Is she on drugs? Is she doing this? All these kind of things. And I was just like, no. And I was getting offended because I felt like they just kept defaulting and like, well, she's obviously doing drugs if she's confused, because she was 21 at the time. I was 18. So I was like, no, she's not doing any of these things. There's absolutely something wrong with my sister. And so they finally got her back into a room, and she started vomiting again. She had a GI bleed. She had hepatic encephalitis. She had a whole lot of things going on with her. My sister ended up being in the hospital for a month and a half. And I feel like they didn't start taking it seriously until my sister talked to this one nurse, and they were like, no, something is wrong. And I just like that. That's what I felt the entire time. But it was after that lady saw her that they kind of like started taking it seriously. And she went to go get the doctor, like, no, you need to come in here and see this girl. Something is wrong. And to me, that kind of like shifted what I felt like I wanted to do. Because I felt like it was the nurse who like called their attention to what was actually going on with my sister, and not just dismissing it as like, oh, she young, she just drunk or whatever. And I was like, no, that wasn't it. And so that kind of like shifted what I planned to do. So I ended up going to nursing school shortly after that.
That's crazy.
That's interesting, that story, because there's many reports and studies about the disparity on like what Black women specifically deal with when going to the emergency room, and how they kind of like dismiss. That's why like their birth mortality rate, mortality rate, is a lot higher, proportionate to other groups. There was just a Instagram influencer, a beauty influencer that just passed. She was misdiagnosed for a long time. They said she had fibroids, so she actually ended up having cancer.
Absolutely.
But she didn't know that. They misdiagnosed her. I think it was for over a year. She kept experiencing this bleeding, and by the time it got, basically, it was kind of too late.
Stage 4, like.
I think they found that she was stage 3. So I think she lived like for a year after that. So it's great that you decided to take that path, because obviously we need more people that like are not going to just look at Black women like, oh, they're on drugs, or they're fine. You're going to be okay, because it actually could be something very seriously wrong.
Absolutely. Why I make it a point to like advocate for my patients when I see something that's not right. And honestly, a lot of stuff is just like intuition. It's like medical knowledge and intuition at the same time. They work hand in hand, because like you like sometimes you don't even know how to describe it medically, but you know like this is just not right. Right. And it's like you get a feeling. It's like I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my medical knowledge. I don't know if it's my intuition, but I just know when something is wrong. And I feel like that's what that lady did for my sister, and it essentially saved my sister's life. And those like to docs, because I work with wonderful doctors, but I just feel like my role at the bedside is to kind of like be the eyes and the ears for the doctors, and I feel like I can't do my job without them, and they can't do their job without me.
Absolutely. And I'll give you all a sense of what that looks like for Christina and from my point of view. And so there can be many times as an ER doc, there are less of us than there are nurses or any other staff in the hospital, right? So you're the kind of, stretched thin, oversee a lot of patients at the same time. So I may be overseeing 20, 30, 40 patients in the emergency department at any given, especially when I work with Christina because she works nights. So when I'm on a night, like I'm going to go after this interview to a night shift, the reality of things is I may be in one room dealing with someone who's dying, like literally in front of me. And I know I have to get to another room of someone who's obviously dying, maybe shot, something like that. But it takes someone like Christina, who's the charge nurse. So she's in charge. She has to see how the room is being managed. She has to know where all the resources are, who's going where, so no one gets forgotten about. This is what she's doing all day in this busy emergency room and trauma center. It takes Christina to look at patients, and I have to trust her to be able to say at any point, she could just come to me and, D, I need you here. She ain't got to say nothing. She don't have to justify it. She don't have to, because I know she's advocating at all times for the patients. And our relationship, I've grown up where she's been in power the whole time. So the dynamic, people may see, well, he's the doctor, she's the nurse. But the reality is Christina's been a charge nurse since I was a medical student. So, and we're not different in age, right? It's just that coming up, I've been able to come under her, learn from her and other nurses when I was just a pup. Now when I'm this head doc and you get all these awards, people see it differently, but that's a relationship over years. So I've learned under Christina and those nurses. So now that you do have authority, you can actually work as a team. And that trust factor is built there. It's like brother, sister, where anything can happen because it could be my family. It could be her family. I might get a call like, hey, my cousin up there, D, take care of her. I may call her like, hey, my best friend, my uncle's there. Take care of him, because that's what it comes with when you work in your own hood.
That's crazy. I've like I said, I mean, I know this is like television, but I watched The Resident, and that's how that show is. Like the two people that's in the show, they new residents, and the doctors there are one doctor there. He always kind of breaks the law.
Of course, because his dad, he's privileged. His dad runs the hospital.
Right. So you know the show.
It's extremely unrealistic, but it's also realistic in this world of power and privilege that some people do get treated different. I've never seen nothing as egregious as none of that stuff. My mom watches these shows. So
yeah. That was my next question. Like, do y'all watch like Chicago medicine and shit like that? But like, that's not what she has.
So to your point,
she ain't got that shit.
I complain about it the
we do.
time.
We do. Yeah, but to your point, so you asked what got me into medicine. I had a black father. I had a father who was a black physician, just like she had a mom who was a nurse, and he fought for better mental health on the south side of Chicago, right? Just like the great Carl Bell and others. But the reality of things is, despite having a black father in my own home who was a doctor, a lot of those medical TV shows, especially ER, was what really motivated me to see, okay, well, this is what it can look like. And when I was younger, so in the 90s, the big black star on ER was Mekhi Phifer, and Mekhi Phifer's name was Greg Pratt. So he was Dr. Pratt, an ER doc from the south side of Chicago, who was the best in his class, but was also from the hood. So he always fought. He always took on problems too big for him. So the same way the resident plays on like he's breaking the rules to try to help people from a privileged position, Mekhi Phifer's character, Dr. Pratt, would break the rules to help those with nothing. So people from the streets, the homeless person, the gangbanger, he'd be mediating some gang beef that's kind of too big for him. But he came from that neighborhood. So that resonated with me a lot because my mom loves those TV shows. So to this day, my mother literally watches each one of those shows. The Resident, Chicago Med. And she'll be like, is this real? Is this? I recorded it. I left it at this place on the YouTube TV. Go watch it. Let me know if it's real. So, sometimes for our youth, we get down on them for watching too much TV, thinking about fake stuff. But if those things are constructive for our youth and they can see themselves, just like the show A Different World from HBCUs.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Right? Yeah. I wanted to go to Xavier my whole life because I had a cousin who went there, but I heard that was the best place. If you want to be a black doctor for college, you have to go to Xavier, right? You got to go to New Orleans. But Katrina hit when I was a junior in high school. So literally as I'm applying, getting recruited for football, Xavier says, nope, we can't. We accepted you, but we can't take no students during Katrina until they rebuilt. So these kind of challenges, but the reality of things is that you talked about healthcare disparities, right? So let's start there. What is a healthcare disparity? That's when, because of your race, your gender, whatever demographic class, you throughout the board suffer worse in healthcare, no matter what you measure. So if it's maternal fetal mortality, if it's life expectancy of black men being 30 years less than white men in Chicago, if it's asthma and living in front of bus stops, how many of our kids live in front of bus stops and then they don't get any primary care? So now you don't have access to medicine. So
Wait, bus stops?
Yeah, so in Chicago, the average distance for a black youth versus any other youth is far closer to bus stops, and that correlates directly with asthma rates. And when so we not only suffer from asthma at a higher rate, our type of asthma looks worse, and we have less resources to deal with it. So our youth gonna come to the ER. Our adults come to the ER. They don't go to that primary doc, get an inhaler. And I had a friend that died of that growing up. Literally, would miss practice, would miss this, had sickle cell and asthma, was always in the ER. Missing school, missing practice, and watching them and other friends that had sickle cell and asthma be in the ER so much made me question, is that the way it's supposed to work? It can't work this way where every time you get sick every week you in the ER. That don't make sense to me. And so over time, that led me down this path of how do I solve this? I got friends dying, getting shot, friends dying at early ages from, asthma and sickle cell, all the way to my own brother that got killed. So in 2012, my own brother got killed in that bad summer of drill music in Chicago. And that's what led me to the trauma center fight. So I started fighting for that trauma center as a med student. I almost got
so
kicked
you were
out.
in University of Chicago.
I was a student. So I saw people in the hood fighting, and I'm like, man, I got just as much blood on my hands as anybody else here.
And that's
right?
that's Jordan mentioned that.
Absolutely.
Like Young Hustle, shout out to Young Hustle. He reached out to me to bring you onto the show.
Yeah.
And he talked about that. He was like, yo, like my man's, he's seen it firsthand on how it affects our youth.
Yeah.
Personally with your brother.
Yeah.
And he was like, bro, like it's a good voice to have in this community because we don't hear these discussions.
Absolutely.
Right? And medical school is like one of the hardest it's probably the hardest thing you have to
Professional
take.
school.
Professional, because you have to know every disease, every type of medicine, the side effects of it, what does it cause, all types of. I remember when I worked at the Hyatt, there was a dude there going to medical school, and he used to stay there for like weeks at a time, and he was studying. He was studying for the test, and he used to always come downstairs at nighttime, like around 10 o'clock at night. He'll come downstairs and he'll study during my whole shift till like 7 in the morning, and he'll go get some sleep and get up. And I had a discussion with him because I saw him arguing with his girlfriend outside. And I was like, man, you good? You straight? He like, she just don't get it.
She don't understand.
He like, because he like, it is so much I have to learn that I don't have time to have a date, right? He like, I may go out with her like once every 3 weeks. We'll go to a movie, go get something to eat, but that's about it. Other than that, if you come by where I'm at, I'm studying. Like, this is the biggest test of my life.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Not including how expensive it is to go to school for medical school. You feel what I'm saying? So he like, I gotta, and he was going to school I think he was going to school to be a cancer doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, oncologist. So he was like, bro, this is something that
it's his life, it's his legacy,
it's the life, it's the legacy.
And he can't turn back, because what you've invested by that point, you can't turn back. You already in so much debt that if you don't finish the game, if you don't get to that finish line, you are a failure on top of a failure. So not only do you go, but so I remember after my brother got killed, they were like, yo, do you want to stop? Do you want to take some time off? And I'm like, I don't think that's an option, because if I stop now, you know what my guys on the block trying to do right now? They sliding. They trying to figure it out. Do you want me out there with that? You want me hanging out, what are my options other than being here and continuing to fight? And the last conversation my brother had with me before he got killed was about something similar, which was, in life, little bro, yeah, you doing good. You getting all these awards. You the top in your class, right? Like, if this stuff is important and this nice place that you got and all of that, if you are as smart as they say you are, maybe you can figure out something that very few people can. And on one side, you got people that fight for legacy. They kill themselves. They fight to leave a name, but they family and their loved ones don't have much. And on the other hand, you got people who get successful and they fight for their family loved ones, but they don't leave the legacy. They don't actually get to do anything. And those sides of the out fight. And he's like, if you don't remember where you came from, then none of this mean nothing. And if you as smart as they say you are, then maybe, look, bro, you the one that can figure this out. Maybe you can do both if you that smart. But it's gonna come from putting on for people in the streets. That was what he told me literally. He was like, if you keep following this, you will be good. So when my brother got killed, I had a mentor. This is the important part. He was a black physician who called me an hour after I found, like literally hour or so after my brother got killed. I had to see him in his truck. He pulled out his truck a block away, not even a block away from my mother's home. And when that's happening, I get a call from my mentor, who's the biggest person to me in the world. I wouldn't be in med school without him. And he's like, hey, I heard about what happened. You got to use this. And he didn't say condolences. He didn't say none of this. He was like, I know everybody else is giving you condolences. I need you to remember to use this so other people don't suffer like this. So that other people, he was like, right now it's not going to mean nothing to you.
So
right now you
around
hurt.
and use it as motivation.
And to this day, that got me into the trauma center fight. I started being able to try to broker between the university and the trauma center. But the first step was learning the dynamics, these things we talk about. Why don't we have a trauma center? What are the dynamics that led us to not have one so we don't go down this mistake path again? And how do we fix it? And better yet, how do we make sure that if we get a trauma center, that it's not just a trauma unit where you're putting Band-Aids on gunshot wounds, but that you treat violence the way we treat every other, public health crisis, which is whether it's cancer, whatever. We have to prevent it, right? And if you can prevent it and put that non-sexy work out there, which is in the schools, working with the youth, the hard work that you do every day, then we taking it seriously. But that's why I opened it up saying we're not taking it seriously as a society. We're not at a point where we can say we turning over every stone, where we're really prioritizing our youth until we the ones on the camera talking about put the guns down, my baby was a good child. And that's what me and Christina see every day. We hear those mothers' cries, right? We can't get them out our ears on a Friday or Saturday night. But that's for the difference between us and others. What makes it hit different is the fact that these are our communities.
Yeah.
So I just, because I appreciate that. Like I told you, I was reading about you, man.
Sorry.
And, like a lot of people will talk, but it's a good thing the saying goes, put your money where your mouth is.
Absolutely.
Where so from my understanding, you had other opportunities where things may not have been more financially beneficial for you to go elsewhere.
Absolutely.
But you chose specifically to be here because you wanted to be here in order to be on this mission that you're on now.
Yeah, man, we got blood on the table, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't come out the mud with fresh white ones on and say, I just came out the mud.
Right.
You're going to have some stains. You're going to have residues of the pathway that you walked. And so for me and Christina, our residue are all the loved ones, our friends, some of which are similar friends that we've lost along the way. And when you go home and sleep at night and say, am I fighting this? Or am I just Twitter fingersing it up? Am I just complaining on Instagram and TikTok every day about how bad Chicago is? Or am I going to use whatever little leverage I got to fight this so that I can sleep at night? So when I see, my godson who's best, his pops, me and him went back to 2-3 years old. I got to look at him in the face, right, and be like, am I living up to the legacy that your pops would have wanted me to do? Not only taking care of you, but being the person that, like the homies, like Jordan and all them the big guys, right? I grew up around them. They were some of my biggest champions, as I'm sure it was the same thing for Christina. Yeah. Some of the very people that you think are the worst influences understand talent. They see stuff in the youth, and they'll encourage you and say, hey, bro, don't be out here. Like, bro, we need you to go take care of auntie one day. You got to be the person, that, you the smart scientist who going to get to the NFL, or who's going to be the scientist if you out here with us.
Me and Rell grew up like that. Like,
absolutely.
All our older counterparts was into that life, and they kept us away from that as teenagers.
So it's interesting because I told you before we started, like, our lives have some parallels.
Yes, sir. You balled a little bit yourself.
Yeah. But also, I had a brother who was 5 years older than me that I lost.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Who has left behind a little girl.
Likewise.
Yeah, yep. You know what I'm saying?
How old is she now?
She's 10.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it was kind of like, having those, because like he was like that protected. Like, sorry, you had the story about like, somebody stole your bike.
Stole my boy bike. He stole my boy bike.
Yeah, and your brother came back with the bike?
Absolutely. He was like, hey, give me whatever hour. Came back with it, and now that young man is one of the best cops that we have on the south side.
That's crazy.
That young man grew up to become a cop, so he didn't call the cops.
Right.
He came to the block and told my brother. And the guys who stole that bike, now understand, this like a rival neighborhood. This ain't like somebody in the hood.
Right.
He went to the Manor, like, which is the next. We stay in Peel Hill, right? So I grew up in Peel Hill. So you got to go to the Manor to go grab a bike back. Yeah. You know the odds of you getting that bike back, bro. When he told me his bike was gone, bro, that bike gone. Remember Boys in the Hood when they was like, he took your football. He was like, bro, that football gone.
I told you not to bring that ball.
That's the same way it was for me.
Yeah. No, it was crazy because I had one point in time I got robbed when I was a shorty.
Yes, sir.
Right, and I had $10 in my pocket. This dude went in my pocket and told me and took $10. Right, I get home and tell my brother, and I'm thinking my brother is gonna be like, you know what I'm saying, like, damn, where that nigga at and all that, you know what I'm saying, and he was like that. But I'll never forget the first thing he said to me is like, "You let him put your hands in your pocket?
Facts.
Don't you ever let a man put his hands in your pocket?"
Facts.
Never happened again. But
Right.
hours later, you know what I'm saying, you know what dude stayed at? You know what I mean? It was, so it's, you remember that.
I was there.
Right. Yeah,
Hey, fam. Let's holler at you for a second.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was 15 niggas outside his house.
Yeah.
But that's either way. But it was also kind of like it was the same demo where, like, you know, he was older, he went through a lot more, and, you know, he kind of kept me, you know.
You didn't have much to prove.
Yeah, exactly.
It had been
you know,
proven. You had to prove something to him.
Exactly.
Not to them.
Exactly. Because I was Rob's little brother. I was little Rob. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it was kind of like I didn't have to go through like prove myself the way he did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I kind of lived off of his reputation, so to speak. So it was just interesting to see that and to see like how that inspired you to kind of go forward and and build what you're building now. Because I understand you work with kids, you have them like dissecting pig hearts and
everything.
You know what I'm saying?
And Christina's been there to help since the very beginning to build these programs so that we're not just talking about this stuff.
Right.
Like, in order to get there, there's evidence, right? There's research that's done. We actually have the answers. Not only as we talk about kind of natural versus Western medicine, the same parallel exists to the solutions to the problems. So meaning that we've known for years, if you want to improve healthcare, you have to create more nurses, doctors. Dr. Daniel Hill Williams did this. We a block from Providence Hospital. First all-black hospital, first all-black medical school, first all-black nursing school.
Wait, Providence was an all blacks?
Yes, this was an all-black hospital that came out of black money.
Yeah.
The Chicago Defender, W.E.B. Du Bois, the Negro League baseball players, the Harlem Renaissance cats, the community itself, block parties. When you talk about block parties, they would field Bronzeville, and people would give $1. And that became how they funded this place, and it was a hospital of excellence. This wasn't no rinky-dink. This was one of the best hospitals in the country.
Right there, Providence.
Because Dr. Daniel Hill Williams, a black surgeon, literally believed in germ theory when everybody else said that was tinfoil hat, third eye stuff. You believe in stuff you can't see? Some germ? What's that? Yeah, you crazy, right? Pasteur died being told he was crazy about germ theory, the dude who created the pasteurizing system, right, where you had to cook stuff in order to keep the bacteria out. Dr. Daniel Hill Williams studied that. He was a student to study and say, okay, if you clean your tools, my patients won't get all these bad infections when I do operations, which are black patients. So he was prioritizing high standard of care with low money and resources. He still made sure his people got the best. And guess what? White people started flocking to Providence. It became something that was multicultural, and it got the attention of the University of Chicago at the time. We talking about the 1920s. 1930s as it gets bigger, and they gave money and a building to them because they were putting pressure on our university. They were like, oh, okay, well, people going over there, the white folks going over here. Well, we are a progressive hospital. We the first hospital to ever put Jewish, professors on staff. So they were progressive. They were like, okay, well, you got a black hospital. Let's give them some money, give them a building. Whether that was to really help or whether that was just to monopolize, you don't know.
Because that hospital right there is
you wouldn't know it now.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's not black owned. It's owned by county. It's owned by Cook County now. So the integration process in our country, we lost we had 7 black hospitals in Chicago, just like we had 7 medical schools in the country. Now we only got 3. We had 7 black hospitals. We don't even have 1 now. But you can go to Spanish-speaking only hospital. You can go to any religious hospital, whether it's Jewish, Islam, Christianity, Advocate. You can have all these special interest hospitals. You can have a women's only hospital. You can have everything you have, but with the people who have the worst healthcare disparities, that word again, those worst healthcare outcomes, African-American people don't even have a place that serves as a center of black healthcare, nor black research, nor black thought, nor black medicine. And that's why our problems don't get better. So Eastern Western medicine, that wouldn't be a hard problem to solve if our people were in power who knew that history to say, no, we've been there, we've done that. We're going to put them together and we're going to use them the way it should be.
Yeah. You know, my pops used to tell me something when I was shorty. He used to always say integration was one of the worst things that ever happened to black people. And I didn't get it then, but obviously as I got older and I began to like read and understand history and how things work, like it was because of those same reasons that you mentioned. Like, you know, like we had to go to those black doctors.
Do for self.
Yeah, because we didn't have it anywhere else to go. We weren't allowed. You know what I'm saying?
And it's hard for us to find black doctors now.
It's less now. It's less going into medicine now, especially black men, than there were in the 60s and 70s, bro. We've taken steps back as our healthcare has gotten worse.
It's hard to find because I be having to go seek out black doctors, bro, and they are hard to find. Primary care physicians.
And the ones you find, they be super busy.
Super big. So to Nell's point, what you said about primary care docs, that's the important part. That's the quarterback of medicine. Right. The primary care doc is the quarterback to get you all these other docs, and your insurance is based on that. If your primary care doc doesn't refer you the right way, they will not get covered. You won't see them. So that's your quarterback. That's your point guard. But yet the most important doc on your whole team is the least represented when it comes to black men. So out of Chicago, again, your black men's health is the worst outcome of any outcome. We die more from black men dying than anything else. In that, you only got 3 to 4 black male primary care docs for all the academic institutions.
Damn.
And you got like 16 of those institutions. So you got 16 big hospital universities, and you can only find 4 at most that are at these big institutions that are black men primary care docs who have the potential to change the system. So when Christina's looking at Chris, when her looking at her son, and it's like, okay, well, who are the people impacted most by black men dying? It's not black men. It's actually the women that take care of them. It's the daughters, the wives, this is what we see in the ER. When them black men come in at 40 with a heart attack, when they come in at 35 with kidney failure, when they coming in with that, it's that mama, that wife, that girlfriend. And when they get older and you 60 and had a couple strokes and your wife gone, the only person that show up is who, Christina? That oldest daughter. Yep. And she breaking her family to take care of this father because his stuff not set up. He don't got end of life care. He don't have long-term disability. He don't have life insurance. So now she could be a lawyer.
Life insurance is a real big thing.
Huge. She could be a lawyer in poverty.
It's a huge thing. Somebody talked to me about that a while ago when I got my job, and they was asked about life insurance. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get it. And then I thought about it because my mother, when she passed away, she didn't have life insurance.
Yeah, we rarely do.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
we rarely do.
It was nothing. And then another friend of mine, he was just saying like that is a very important way to kind of develop economic power, right?
Yes, sir.
Because he like in your 30s and 40s, especially your 40s, is the hardest time for any adult because your parents are at that age,
yes, sir,
where their times are limited.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, think about it. Like, if your mom and dad didn't have life insurance, and they pass away, you take on their debt. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Which kind of fucks up your credit score because you have to, you know what I'm saying?
It depends on what type of debt, but but to a certain extent,
But to a certain extent, because now you got to take care of this and not being able to take care of your own bills as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he was like, a lot of people look at insurance agents as like, oh, you just trying to get money, you trying to make your quota. Nah, this is something real because he like, if your dad passed and he left you $300,000, that's $300,000.
But it's not just that, because depending on what type of, like, you got term policies, those things, like you can actually borrow.
You can extract.
Yeah, exactly. You can borrow against those life insurance policies.
It's the wealth plan. The first thing you go to any financial planner that they're going to tell you to do is get life insurance, right? The number one reason is not only because it creates a safety net, which is what we do in emergency medicine. We, as doctors, and nurses, we're there to make sure you live through this. I may not see you to the finish line, but I'm creating a safety net so that we don't slip through the cracks. You're not gonna die on me. That's my job.
Right.
I can't tell you what's gonna happen a week from now, but you're not gonna die today. That same way is what life insurance starts the process of. And to your point, the reality is that the number one cause of the wealth gap growing between black and other demographics is this. It's end of life transition. That's what they found out, is that when we get older, when we're about to die, you could take two families, one A, one B. A's family, the dad is a doctor or a lawyer, the daughter is a doctor or a lawyer. Family B, the dad is a factory worker, the son is a factory worker. If family A was entrepreneur and didn't have end of life stuff set up for dad, didn't have long-term disability, life insurance, all of that, and he dies, the odds are that daughter or son ends up in poverty faster, even though they're both professionals, than the factory worker who had a pension, who died with no debt and just only left maybe 50, 60K, but their funeral expenses were paid for, their end of life, long term, and their little pension, and so the son gets the house. So Medicaid not taking your house when your dad in a nursing home. This is where we lose our resources. Right?
Yeah.
You put pops in a nursing home, mom in a nursing home after a stroke that was missed because we didn't know how to recognize strokes or high blood pressure, whatever. When that happens early, then the first thing that the government says is, okay, you can't afford $10,000 a month to put them in a nice nursing home because this is how much those things cost.
Yeah.
Like flat out, if you play cash, you're gonna be paying 4 or 5 times what the going rent prices are for that same square
So
footage.
if he had the life insurance thing, they can just draw off of that.
So yeah, you having long-term disability, life insurance, end of life care, they draw off of that. But more important, right? If you have it now, you don't lose that. But if not, then the government is gonna say, we want the house. You got to start liquidating your assets for this long-term care, even though you don't want to. And then the same thing happens when you die. So at your estate, oh, we need the house, we need this, we need that. So when we don't prepare well for the end of life, and a lot of the reasons why our superstition, our religious beliefs, these different reasons we don't want to talk about, whether I'm DNR, DNI, we don't want to talk about who gets what, we don't want to have these tough conversations. The reality of things is that hurts us on that end and on the other end, because the number one cause of bankruptcy in our country is medical bills. So when you add that bankruptcy is led by medical bills, you add that end of life stuff that deals with medicine is leaving us in the dumps, and then you look at the fact that we lead in all these measures that look at how bad our health care is, and we don't have the money to fix it. This is why we dying.
Look, I went to the University of Chicago one time when I was working at Starbucks. I used to get these like abdominal pains.
Yes, sir.
Where like it would seem like I'm hungry all the time, but it's like a pain, right? And it got so bad, so I was like, man, I gotta go to the doctor. I just gotta see what's going on. So I went to University of Chicago, and the guy came. Nurse. At the time, I don't even think I had insurance. I don't think I think I probably just started Starbucks insurance, whatever. But anyway, I get there, wait 6-7 hours. He sees me, lays me on the thing, touches my stomach, puts a plastic glove on, sticks his finger up my ass. All right, man, this is what you're gonna take.
Yep.
And then that was it. 2 weeks later, I get a bill for like $12,000.
Absolutely.
I was like, this is the most expensive date I've ever been on. I wanted to call that nigga like, you owe me dinner.
$500 for the lube.
The
lube cost you
like,
$500.
Nigga, you just molested me on the table.
Yes, sir.
And it charged me like 12 beds. Of course, like my insurance knocked it down. And with that, I just, pay whatever I get, I just throw it in there. But it was just like noticing the prices of medicine, the treatment of medicine. Like a ambulance ride is like $7,000. You know what I'm saying? Like you get this medicine that's like $100. Like when I had my surgery for my ear, nose, throat doctor, and you could tell like I still have issues, and I still got to go back. Right? He gave me some stuff to go to the doctor. I'm like, bro, that's like $75, but it's Zyrtec.
Yes, sir.
Like, you're charging me $75 for this shit that's the same thing as Zyrtec, and I can just pay $22 for it? Nah, man, I don't want that. I'm going to get this Zyrtec, and I'm going to just deal with my life. Like, how do you, when it comes to, like, natural remedies, right, and Western medicine, what is both you guys' opinion and standpoint on, like, the people that are, like, strictly, nah, I just go to a doctor when I need my checkup, but then I take the sea moss and the bladderwrack or the black seed oil every day, and I eat vegetables and I eat my fruits. This is what keeps me moving healthy. What is your guys' opinion on that? Because I mean, you do work at University of Chicago, so I mean, at the end of the day, the type of people it's about money. At the end of the day, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, nah, he need to let's go ahead and open them up. Let's get this $15,000 out of it real quick.
So I'm all for natural remedies, especially because they are a lot less expensive than medical treatments most of the time. But I just feel like there has to be a balance. I feel like you can't just use these natural remedies and then go unchecked on your blood pressure.
Right.
You got to still be
Yeah.
checking these things
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
the same time, as opposed to just like, okay, I'm gonna just do this natural health kick. I'm never gonna go to the doctor, because
Right.
that's a lot of our problem, is that we don't get checked out and we don't go to the doctor. And a lot of these problems are silent killers, and people can have high blood pressure for years and then go unnoticed because you're not checking your blood pressure. You're not going to a primary doctor. You're not doing any of these
or
things.
diabetes.
Exactly. And so you don't know that these things are the symptoms that you have, and you just peeing a lot, but you don't know that that's a symptom of your blood sugar being high.
I pee a lot, but usually when I drink a lot. I'm drinking.
So that's what happened to my brother. So my brother ended up being diagnosed diabetic in his early 20s. And I'll never forget this. My brother was peeing like every 10, 15 minutes. And my mama noticed it, like, why are you peeing so much? It's just like, I guess I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm drinking a lot. She's like, nah, something ain't right.
Something ain't right.
something ain't right here.
I told you about the instinct.
Right, yeah, right, yeah. That mama know.
Yeah. And you know, mama the OG nurse.
Yeah.
Right, you know.
And she took, and my mama, she's real big on, because like my mama used to have us taking castor oil, stuff like that when we was kids. Like anytime, I would hate to tell my mama I don't feel good, because first thing she gonna pull out, well, take some castor oil. Constipated, take some castor oil. You know what I'm saying? But nah, so she took my brother to the doctor, and at that point in time, man, saved his life. Absolutely. My brother, his blood sugar was off the meter.
And that's serious. It did save his life. He would have died had she not done that within probably the next day.
Yeah.
So like we see that all the we get kids that come in cardiac arrest, adults that come in cardiac arrest, and it's purely just hyperglycemia, DKA, simple stuff that like finger stick and just like making sure you on top of things going to your doc would have easily prevented.
Because I bought I got a blood pressure meter. I take my blood pressure not every morning, but at least a few times a week.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Because I got to check now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because because like I said, I want to make sure this beet juice is still fucking working. You know what I'm saying?
So how do you check if you not? You know what I'm saying? How do you check if your natural remedies are working if you're not checking up on the issue? So
exactly.
You have to continue to check up on the issue in addition to using your natural remedies.
And it was also because, I guess there's a thing where like, a lot of times you go to the doctor and you get nervous.
Yes, sir.
And your blood pressure will be a little higher.
It's called white coat syndrome.
Yeah,
which is
right.
why I don't
when you don't wear white coats. I read that. So because it's crazy, because I would get like these insane readings. Like they take my blood pressure and it would be like 150 over 100 or something, right? And then I'll never forget one day I was at UIC. I was there for like an appointment, and I wasn't paying attention.
Yes, sir.
And I was looking at something on my phone, and the lady was like taking my blood pressure, and it was the lowest reading I ever got.
Wow.
At a doctor's office, right? And that's what she said. Oh, you might just have white coat syndrome. What is that? You know what I'm saying? But all these years of me getting these high readings, me thinking I got like high blood pressure for real.
Yeah.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
No, it was just like, you know, and I don't want to say that's the only thing, which is why I still take preventative measures. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, there is something to that, and it was always for me, because the first time somebody tried to prescribe me pills, I didn't take it because I just felt like you just took this one read. This is my first time I've ever seen you, because this was the time I was looking for a primary care physician, because one of the few black doctors. So if you ever heard of Dr. Nichols, he just recently passed. He had an office over here on 30 on Michigan. It was like 30, 20-something. It was like 26 in Michigan. But you know, he closed up his practice. My whole family went to his practice for years.
Wow.
And once he closed up shop, you know, we had to find somebody else. So I went, and it was an Indian dude, and he saw this reading, and it was like 140, low 140s over like 80. 90 or something like that. So high, but nothing like crazy.
Borderline, yeah, you just over the lower limit.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, and he's just like, he's trying to prescribe me pills.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, bro, you ain't asked me nothing about my diet. You ain't asked me nothing about how I exercise. Are you stressed?
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't ask me nothing about that. It's just like, okay, well, I want you to start taking these pills.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't like, I don't know. That just didn't sit well with me.
Absolutely.
So do you guys find yourselves like in those type of situations? So I know there's certain situations just say, hey man, you got to take this fucking medicine. You know what I'm saying? Or there's sometimes we're just like, maybe you could try this, or you know, is there room for that in what you guys do?
Yeah, we call that having a shared decision making process, and there's evidence behind that. So I always talk about bringing the receipts, bringing the evidence. There's so much evidence. One of the great pioneers on that is Dr. Monica Peak, a wonderful black physician and one of the top researchers in the country here at U Chicago.
Okay,
and she studies how we in general medicine, but especially it's even more poignant for African Americans in underserved communities to engage in equitable relationships with their doctors, meaning that there's a shared decision-making process where information is shared. There's this deliberation about that information and the treatment options that are there, and then you come to a conclusion together. Because if you just tell somebody what to do, there's a small percentage of people in our population that will work with, right? Where you just say, do it, okay, I'm gonna do it, and you see those people do it. But most of us have to understand the process. We have to be in the driver's seat, right? Like we have to be able to, like Christina said, take control, advocate for ourselves, and make sure we're doing the things. And if you don't walk into that doctor saying, I need this, what about this question that I have, you're not going to get the same quality of healthcare as a person who does. So that person who walks in and is like, I read this, or I heard about this. And then, but the other part is, did you follow through? So did you even try whatever the doc said before? And if you didn't try it, did you ask why to at least come up with a decision? But walking out of a doctor's office knowing I'm not going to do the plan is almost like saying I wasted my own time.
Yeah,
I came in here and I wasted the doc's time. So now when I come back, that doctor who was really open to trying to get me to change diet, change exercise, man, just take these meds, man. If you ain't going to take these meds, I ain't going to keep telling you the same thing. Right. And then we see them in the ER. Because now that costs the healthcare system money. So now people are coming back for problems that should have been dealt with at a primary care that deal with just, did you adhere? So seizures, that's an example. We see some people that come in 2-3 times in a week as full ambulance rides in potentially critical positions, right? They could hit their head, they could have a brain bleed, they get a big workup. Many times they're going to get a CAT scan if they're looking like they're having a stroke, because some seizures look like a stroke. So they're going to cue the whole ER to use its resources. And then all the neurologists are going to come down here and do and say their levels for their meds for their seizures were low. Just give them their meds and send them home.
So they already charged for that.
They are, huge workup. And then they go home and they do the same thing. It's not fixing the problem. And so when we talk about healthcare costs, a lot of what we pay for in healthcare is because other things cost us so much. And we're not being efficient. We're not using efficiency within the system, to his point. But,
I will just say that, like, in the emergency department, I feel like people misuse the resource often because they don't have anywhere else to go. But even if they do have somewhere else to go, they don't follow up.
Yep.
And so a large part of what we do in the emergency department, it needs to be followed up. We just, like he said earlier, we just here to make sure you don't die today.
Absolutely.
We're trying to figure out, like, that what you have is not life-threatening today, but it potentially could have life-threatening results. So you need to follow up after this. So they give resources on the discharge paperwork. If you don't have a primary care doctor, they give you resources so that they can help you find one.
Right.
Within your insurance, we have, like, patient advocates that work toward that so that you don't keep coming back to the emergency department for issues that you need to follow up on, that you need to follow through with, whether it's your blood pressure or your diabetes or whatever the issue that you having is. Or, for example, just as simply as I'm having abdominal pain, I got a UTI, I need to take these antibiotics. But people don't get the prescription filled, and they'll come back to the emergency department and saying the problem is not fixed. It's not fixed because you're not taking the advice that you were given or following through with the medical plan.
Yeah.
I encourage people all the time, like, if you have questions or you're not sure about something, ask questions. Ask a million questions.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Every
so
doctor.
many times where the doctor will leave out and they'll be like, well, I ain't understand nothing he said.
Christina, come clean it up.
And I feel like, so we have to explain to them everything the doctor just
give it
said,
to me in black turf, man.
Right. Sometimes you got to put it in layman's terms so people like, listen, this is what you got to do. And
Stop eating the Heralds. The fried food, got to stop that.
But it's also like, because, I mean, through our history, especially like through our parents, like a lot of this trauma has been passed down to us, is we have like a distrust of the medical system.
Yeah.
And for good reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we literally have been experimented on. When you talk about I'll never forget, and they have since made a movie about this, but this was by chance. A friend of mine went to Northwestern, and I went to this, because I was, I like to learn about random shit all the time. So I went to this little lecture with her. It was at night. There was a woman that wrote this book about Henreita Lax and about the HeLa cells. And basically,
what's the HeLa cells?
So what happened was her cells. So normally the cells would die, so they could never really experiment on any sort of living cells, right? Her cells didn't die. Right,
and she had cancer. She had cancer, and when they went to biopsy her cancer, and they looked under the microscope as a pathologist, they realized that for whatever reason, her cells never died. So it was an aggressive form of cancer that genetically held the key to keeping a cell line alive for almost indefinitely, all the way until today. And that's the foundation of all science, basic science research on cells.
Yeah.
So every lab in America now has a version of these cells that started there, but that family was never told this. They were never compensated. You're talking about billions of research dollars that have gone through, and the main thing that you're using, that you're going to have as line items on your grant when you say, I need this much money for this in my lab, this machine, these cells that we have to keep buying, that have to be endless for us. We have to keep buying. That's your main product that you re-upping on.
All these came from her body.
All them came from her body, and she gets no credit. Family get nothing, anything.
Yeah, so all medical.
And she died, of course.
Yeah, so they never actually treated her cancer.
Yeah, this cancer killed her.
Yeah, they were just experimenting on her. Mm-hmm. This was at John Hopkins Hospital, and she was she was from rural Virginia. You know, like she was from a town where like most of the people were related and they were procreating. You know, so they a lot of them were mentally delayed, right? So they had those issues. So she had nobody to advocate for her. They didn't know any better, and they experimented on this woman for years. They were tying radium in her vagina.
Mm-hmm. See radiation implantation.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was a crazy story, right?
Sounds crazy.
Yeah, I know finally Oprah Winfrey I believe she did a movie about it or some shit, maybe a few years ago.
But it's been well covered, at least in the science world. You know, I don't know how much regular people know about it, but the learning point from that whole thing is we have to do for self and control our own. Right? Like we have to be in positions of research. So we get, even as physicians, there are so few black physicians, but there are even fewer black physician researchers. And in healthcare, these are the real puppet masters. So the real puppet masters of what happens when you come into a hospital, what protocol, how did this work, what programs exist in the community, that all funnels down from large grants from our government. So from the CDC, the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, the World Health Organization, they have big funding, big researchers apply for that in healthcare. You're talking about millions, billions of dollars. Right. And then they decide how that's divvied up. They decide what the smaller researcher at each hospital is going to do to be part of their bigger project. And these people are never us. They're rarely, if ever, us. And if they look like us, you best believe they don't come from 63rd Street. You best believe they wasn't Tina walking down 87th Street. So they don't actually understand our reality. They don't actually
understand the diet.
And they don't have no
stress.
accountability. There's no accountability to taking care of us the way they would take care of their own.
Right.
And that's the difference.
And our bodies are just different.
Absolutely.
So what normal blood pressure could be for me and you could be different for another ethnicity.
And how it affects us.
And how it affects us. You know what I'm saying? Like, so things like that. It's just like, I remember a while ago, I went to the doctor, you know, you got the BMI index, and the doctor told me that I was morbidly obese. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've known me for a long time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I may pack on a few pounds, but I've never been to the point where I was could be considered morbidly obese. I think she said I was supposed to be like 185 pounds.
Yeah,
for your height, yeah.
No.
That's similar to when I had my surgery. She was like, my breathing, because I have sleep apnea. So she was like, you've been small all your, like, he's known me. I've been small all my life.
Yeah,
I've lost 14 pounds in the past like 8 months because I was 260 in the last summer. Now I'm like 241.
That's amazing.
You know what I'm saying? But she was saying that because the way you breathe, you have a lot more weight on your size and your height. So you have to trim it down a little bit. And of course, stop smoking, which I'm working on that. Down to 2 cigarettes a day. I'm working. God damn it. But it's a lot to go into, because like when I go to the doctor, first of all, when I go to the doctor, I pass out. I'm gonna let you know that now.
But you pass out?
I pass out every time.
Every single time you go to the doctor?
Every single time right before they take blood work, I am terrified of needles.
Okay.
Like, to the point where like I
understand. Listen, nobody likes needles, even the heroin.
Soon as she be like, soon as I hear that drawer open and I hear that wrapper.
Wow.
that's
literally. I went last time right before surgery, passed out.
Wow.
She was, and I was like, I'm about to pass out. She's like, why? I'm like, because needles. She's like, well, I'm gonna keep talking to you, baby. Da, 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 da. oh shit, he wasn't lying. Like she was like, yeah, he woke me up and I was perfectly fine. But as we get older, as black men, I have to shout out my guy Muffy Collins. He does a prostate cancer run.
Absolutely.
Because he said one of the leading causes of black men is prostate cancer.
It is.
Because we don't check on because of the whole thing of something going up our anal.
Yeah, and the fact that the treatments can leave you impotent. So that's the other thing is that like the treatments can leave you with erectile dysfunction. They can leave you not being able to be sexually functional, and it can destroy your pelvic area. So a lot of men see men go through that, and that's a fear that they also have.
Absolutely.
I'm going this year.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah.
I haven't made my appointment yet. I got some other stuff I got to work out first.
But sometimes knowing that can be used for our benefit too. So to Christina's point, there are plenty of times where we use that same fear and superstition to help empower someone. So I may tell a brother like, "Hey man," like they may say, "Man, well, man, what's up with them pills, doc? To help me with my lady thing, man." And my response is like, "Well, sir, your blood pressure has been high for this long. The last time you took your blood pressure meds?" "Oh man, last year, doc. I don't be taking them things." It was like, brother, do you realize that the number one thing that's leading to erectile dysfunction is poor cardiovascular health? You get your sugars together, you get your blood pressure together, you drop 15 pounds, whatever. That might not need the pills. Now I'm happy to help you get the pills too, but if that's what you want to do, right? I'm happy to help you navigate that so that it's done healthily.
Please help them. Keep them away from buying gas station dick pills.
Right. Just blowing your money, right? on things that make your heart bad, because that stuff actually can mess with your heart. So some of those things are unregulated, and it's our lack of access to healthcare. Right, like when you see affluent people, they're not tripping on Cialis or Viagra. They get it. They doctors probably leading with it, and they'll tell them, "Hey, you should get your testosterone checked. You might not even need them pills. Your testosterone's probably low. So let's get that done, so that you can feel better. Work out.
Let me ask you
and get that
something
done
real quick. What, as a regular person coming in getting a checkup?
Yes, sir.
Right, over the age of 40, right? What is the language that he needs to say, like, hey, I want to check up? Not the regular, I'm gonna check your temperature, blood pressure, take your blood work. I want to be on the treadmill. I want you to put your things on me.
Stress test. That's a stress test.
I want to know.
You tell them the truth. So I think that honesty is the most important thing. If you come in and you like, "Doc, I'm worried, man. Like I just hit 40. I used to be a baller. I used to hoop a little bit. I haven't done it recently. I've been stressed, and I'm worried that I ain't gonna be able to be here for my daughter, my son, whatever. What do I need? Where do I start?" If you come in and you're just like, "Yo, I'm an open book, where do I start?" And then you leave that open room for the doc to now exchange information, like we talked about, shared decision making. Okay, well, sir, as I look at it right now, these are the things that are going wrong. These are the things that are going right. This would be the recommendation plan. You got to get a primary care doc. That's not us deflecting. That's us saying, well, you need a quarterback. That's like a good GM in the NFL, like looking at a team and like, okay, you got a defense and all. You got to get a quarterback, bro. You got to get somebody or it won't work.
The primary doctor, are they at the University of Chicago? Or those are like
that's everywhere. Yeah. So that should be your most abundant doctor that's out there. Should be the primary care or the family medicine doc. Right. So that could be internal medicine, family medicine for a woman. That can be those two or OB-GYN. So those can be your primary docs, and you have to get them so that you can have a relationship. Right, the people who have a relationship, for instance, all the time, Christina knows, people gonna call me in the community. Whether you, the coach I used to have, you could be a dignitary, an entertainer, a rapper, any of that. I'm gonna get the text message when they need something like, "Hey, I'm coming to the hospital," or "This is going on," and then I'm in that position to say, "Okay, well, you don't have a primary doc, so I have to step in and do this patchwork primary care doc work." But the insurance system, the way it's structured, doesn't really allow me to do that well, right? They don't allow you to code or have the same power as an ER doc because they think it might be a conflict of interest. I might be referring people to myself, as a primary care doc in the ER. So the point is that that's the first thing that you want to do is get a relationship so that this conversation right here that's going to be short isn't the fullest extent of our interaction. You got to be able to text. You got to be able to email. You got to be able to get back and forth and pull and put, because you might not need to come to the hospital for me to give you an antibiotic. Right. You may not need to come to even the clinic. I can say, okay, you sit down with your blood pressure machine that you got from Walgreens on your flex spending account. You put the little pulse ox on your finger.
I just got that.
You tell me.
I got it with my Fidelity.
There you go. You show me those numbers. I can see that. You tell me your symptoms, and I can help you gauge whether you need to come in or not, so that I can save you money, save the healthcare system money, and hopefully still work on getting you a primary care doc.
Because last time I go, I was like, man, I was trying to run on the treadmill. I want y'all to check my heart. They was like, well, everything's in your blood work.
I mean, the other side of this is a conversation that I hear from you too, is that what if they don't do that? What if they say, well, you kind of only need this because your insurance says that? And I think that's why you have to have that relationship, because when brothers come to me like that, like, hey, I'm worried I might have colon cancer. My man's just died of colon cancer, but I'm not old enough to qualify for a colonoscopy per my insurance. Okay, this is the rap. You got to tell him. You got to tell him you got blood in your stools. You got to tell him you've been having pain. It's not when you constipated. You just got blood in your stools because you have a family history of this. You might have actual risk. I might look at you and be like, hey, actually, I am concerned about you, but looking at it from the system's point of view, that may not be enough to get you over the payment threshold to get that.
So my homeboy Muffy, because I remember somebody was telling me that you have to wait till like you're after 50.
It was 50 for colon. Now they moved it to 45.
Right.
But I literally have had 3 young black men die of stage 4 colon cancer that I diagnosed at stage 4 before the age of 40.
Yeah. So my homeboy Muffy was like, no, dog. Like, you could be in your 30s.
Absolutely.
You tell your doctor, no, I want this done.
You want it done.
Because they can't refuse you for getting it done.
Yeah, they can make it like they cannot help you on the cost end, and that's why having that relationship, right? I'd rather you have a doctor of any race, any gender. It could be a woman, it could be whatever, as a brother. Even if you're not as comfortable, but if that person gives you a better relationship, if they're more accessible, if they're, you could get in touch with them at any moment if you needed to, and you of course don't abuse that relationship. Right. But that's also the role of nurse practitioners. That's also the role of so many other healthcare providers in our community that we're not taking advantage of. And on top of that, when we do, we overburden them, like you said. So now they're stretched so thin because we're the only ones doing what we're doing. Right. And if you're good, heaven forbid you good at what you do. Heaven forbid people on the streets like, hey, she get it done for you. If you want this done, now you're going to be in demand. Right. And then it makes it harder and harder to help the people who don't have a loud voice, who won't scream from the top of a mountain. And I'm seeing doctors nowadays pulling back from the social media space and helping people because of that, because they're getting critiqued for one little thing, and our people not being able to understand the nuances of life and communication. And I think we recently had a black woman, OB-GYN doc. I think she's on one of those TV shows, Married to Medicine, but very prolific, one of the best in the country. And literally all she does is fight for black women. And literally they were trying to cancel her because she said that one of the issues that she faces in healthcare with her women is that when trying to deal with sick versus not sick, it's hard to deal with it because some women come in like, I don't want to work. I want to be on bed rest. I'm screaming. I'm in pain so that they can advocate for themselves. And the problem is that some people do that. Right. Some people don't. So now it's hard for the humble, meek person that we'll see in the corner of our ER that won't say a word and will sit there and die on you because they're modest, because they're humble and they don't want to say anything. But you got someone else on the other end that comes every day and knows that if they act a fool, that we're gonna respond. We're not gonna just ignore.
I would just walk in there, I'm passing out.
But to the point, that's what happens.
That's exactly what people do.
Absolutely, because the system doesn't work for us. So that forces. I don't like using word like schemer, scammer, but it forces this kind of like theatrical nature in certain people. And that hurts again the system because it's bad that person had to go to that lengths to try to feel like they're getting attention, but it's also bad because it takes resources away from people who won't say nothing, who may be far sicker, and we don't even get to them. Christina may not get to them for another 20 minutes if we're having to deal with some crises that ends up when they get back not being much, and that's hard to deal with. But to cancel a doc for that, to cancel a doc for talking about the nuances of this, like everything ain't black and white. Some things are shades of gray, and I think that's what we're talking about with medicine. Like sometimes you got to say natural and real medicine, or sometimes you got to say I can't just drink cranberry juice when this urinary tract infection ain't going away.
Right, yeah.
And I too have had an experience as a patient of a physician, and I'm a strong advocate for. Go to the doctor that does the best for you, and that you feel listens to you, that you feel is like hearing your concerns. Because I had a doctor tell me when I was like 27 about getting a hysterectomy because I got diagnosed with fibroids, and I was just like, this is interesting because at that time I had never had children, I had never been pregnant at that time, so I was like, why would the first thing that comes out of her mouth be a hysterectomy? Yeah. And so then I was just like, I'm never going back to her again. I never saw that doctor again, and I went to another physician, and since then I've had the same physician. And when we had a conversation about my fibroids and me possibly having to have surgery, she was like, we're not even going to talk. She was like, we'll talk about the first 2 options, but we're not even going to talk about the one that starts with H because that's not an option for you. So I felt like she had my best interest in mind, and she happened to not be black. and the first physician was actually black. And so it's just like you gotta go with whoever is gonna do the best for you and who you feel is gonna listen to you.
Yeah. So it's crazy because this guy I trained with. So I know this guy through I trained jiu-jitsu. So it's a guy I know through that. A good brother, man. But he's a doctor. He calls himself the Fibroid Slayer.
P.
So y'all would say
that's big bro.
Yeah, you know P. Real,
Christina probably know P as well.
Yeah.
Pierre.
Yeah, Pierre.
He's the Fibroid Slayer.
Yeah. He's a real good dude, real cool, amazing. Man. But he that's what he's made that his mission. Yeah. Because you said a lot of times when black women go to these doctors and they talk about they have fibroids, one of the first things they try to do
cut it out.
Is give them a
cut your whole. And then for people at home that don't know what that's taking a woman's uterus out.
Right.
That stops her reproductive ability. So someone telling Christina at 27 as a young woman who's not even had a child yet, not married, doesn't know what her future is going to look like, just get rid of your uterus. Right, like that's wow.
Yeah, we have a very close friend of ours that had fibroids. Like, and we used to be like out like kicking it. And like I'll look at her and she'll just be sweating.
Yeah, because she's so anemic.
She'll throw up and then
she's passed out in front of
you. She don't have enough blood in her body, so she's literally like slowly dying.
Yeah, and then like within like after she threw up and everything, she's right back to normal.
She's like live with it.
Turn up, hand me another cup. But then she eventually went to the doctor and went through fibroids and got the surgery and stuff like that. And now she's a lot more healthy than she was back then because she had lost a lot of weight.
So that's so many. And let me stop and put some respect on my brother Pierre Johnson's name. So putting some respect on his name. Pierre is a robotic OB-gynecologic surgeon. So he's not just an OB-gyn doc. He went to medicine for that, but he is a surgeon and he uses the robot. But he's not using a robot for expensive surgery. So we have to put this in context. Fibroid removal is not like the most expensive. It's not like a high-paying procedure. Right. So this is why when you go to most docs, they're going to say, what's the simplest thing I can do that I get paid the most money for that I can do regardless of sometimes what effect it can have on that person. As long as it's in the literature that this is an option, then I may choose the option that works best for me and my practice style. Yeah. While Pierre, like remember I talked about how black men and their healthcare issues affect black women who are their daughters and who take care of them. Right. Those of us who are young men, we were affected heavily by our mothers as they suffered through fibroids. So I can remember vividly my mother and both my sisters have suffered through that, where it affects your life. You're late for school, your mother's tired, she's always not feeling good, she's always at the doctor, she has to have procedures. So Pierre was like that too. So he took that motivation, and even as a man, and they told him, why would you be a man and want to be an OB-GYN? Why would you want to deal with women's health? Why was this? Because he was tired of seeing the people around him, the women suffering, and he looked at the lay of medical options for women. So like with Christina's story. So Pierre was able to find out that, whoa, even when it comes to some black doctors who are supposed to be standing up for women, they don't do these procedures because they don't pay well. So he was willing to go and take that payment hit, go to school, get in debt, all of those kind of things, and do these procedures, and he takes public insurance. And when I try to refer women out of our hospital to a OB-GYN doc who can get rid of their fibroids, and he does it minimally invasive. So it's the safest way. So he's giving women's little 2-inch scars and new bikini lines and all of that, like completely. These women go from looking pregnant, and Pierre is taking out 15, 20-pound tumors of fibroids out, leaving a healthy uterus and giving that woman the body that she wanted. And she's healthier now. Now she's not anemic. He's saving lives. And I know at least 10 women that have had their lives saved by Pierre. And when I refer, they usually can't get to none of the other docs I get to. I tell them to get to Pierre, they get to him. So that's somebody who's standing 10 toes down, but they tried to cancel my brother for the same thing. So these things happen where a doctor says something important that's evidence-based, that's real, and our community jumps on it in their lack of understanding of what's being said to then try to cancel the very person who's standing out on a branch trying to help our community.
So I know he got, because he was his sister's doctor.
Wow.
And I know because they tried to get on him on that. It was a huge post that went viral about that. And like bro, the dude is literally out here doing God's work.
Purely.
You know what I'm saying? Like
purely.
Yeah, and if you ever met him, real cool dude, you wouldn't know that this nigga's like a superhero
from the hood.
Life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, real solid guy, man. But he talks about he's very busy. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he talks about it, man. So I didn't really know what he did. I started following him on IG. I was like, oh, bro, you really
But
really out here doing.
And there's so many. There's so many that what I call docs off the block.
Yeah.
So that are more like nurses in our community than like docs, because many of us knew more nurses growing up than docs. So most of our social network of medical professionals are nurses. The girls we went to high school with, the young men who we came up with.
Which is like kind of a big thing now. Like there's a lot of black women nurses.
Yeah, and we still need more.
Where we at
right?
on
And
time?
we still need more. So being
Hour
able
53.
to. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where you at with it?
Nah, I was just saying because we probably did.
Okay.
The red button's still on, right?
Oh, did your battery die?
Nah, the battery ain't gonna die. Okay.
Your cat's running cut. They playing.
No, but
Yeah.
the red dot is still
It's
there.
time for them
right?
to eat. That's why they like, hey, nigga.
Go get that
Hey,
fancy
nigga, it's
dog.
past 5:30.
They need that pate.
What you doing?
Right.
So let me ask you before we get out of here. How do you feel about because there was something that went viral a while ago of the black doctor that discovered the cure of cancer.
Now, which one was this? Because they run that headline multiple times.
Yeah.
So they tease at that, But so there are a few different sisters and brothers who've worked on those things. But which one? But in general, in general,
okay. Knowing that this is cancer generates billions of dollars for the medical industry, whatever. And like you said, the Resident, the show I was watching, they arrested a doctor for giving people, saying that, oh, you have cancer, and diagnosing them with cancer when they didn't have cancer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then you also have these documentaries about Dr. Death.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You have the documentaries about pharma. So you know that it's a big business in this situation.
Biggest lobby in the country.
Right. And we also seen like, rappers talk about Magic Johnson got the cure for AIDS. Like type shit. You feel what I'm saying? And we've always heard these rumors and these headlines. Is there any truth to that? Do you think there is a cure for cancer out there? And if so, would it be even available to the regular, what I'm saying?
I think that second part is the more important question, is that when and if it gets developed. I think science is moving at a great pace. I think that, who knows what the trajectory will be, but as long as, we don't go through World War III or some type of Armageddon thing, and over the years, you'll keep seeing scientific advancements. But when you look at history and the precedence of things, when these advancements happen, they're rarely early out there for the regular public. And once they are, there's already a new thing, right? And so those with resources have always gotten better healthcare than those without, which is why, we tried to push for universal healthcare and didn't get that. It hurt, but the Affordable Care Act definitely made some strides. But to your point, there's so much money tied up in the research, the development, that it's a conflict of interest for pharmaceutical companies sometimes to get people healthy, to cure cancer. And when you have a conflict of interest and you see what kind of money is being played, if the only olive branch that you have that you're hoping they stand on is good ethics, that's shaky. And so I get your point with that. I think that cures will come, but as cures come, the diseases change. Right. So as cures have come for other things like our life expectancy, not as many people used to die of cancer, 300-400 years ago. Why? Because they died of other stuff first. So as you solve one thing and you get rid of the flu and you get rid of,
now you got COVID.
Right. Now you got something else, right?
Like HIV, for example.
Yep.
Like, the medications for it have
They
changed
work.
over the years, and
Yeah.
and people have a longer life expectancy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
They help you live with it.
Exactly. So it's not a death sentence like it used to be.
Yeah.
I think to Christina's point, they've showed studies that show just having like diabetes is a worse for, like, you'll die faster from just having diabetes than HIV these days. So like nowadays, a life expectancy, and you don't transmit it. So they have PrEP medications where you don't necessarily transmit it. If someone does, like say someone sexually assaults you or something, we can give those medications within 3 days that can stop the transmission. So that was how a lot of people used to get it. The Arthur Ashe way, the blood transfusions, we screen the blood now. So we've effectively really dealt with that as an issue. And other issues like hepatitis C, we now have a cure for hepatitis C. When we didn't, that wasn't curable in the past. But there are things that, as long as we push science, but to your point, now, if you're not prioritizing the equity of a whole demographic who genetically, if we talk science, are the wild type. If we remember back to biology, the Gregor Mendel and wild type versus mutant, the wild type is the African American, is the Black American, right? Like we are the original genetics, which is why it's important to start there and not have a center, because it means anyone's issue can be our issue,
Right.
but their issue does not necessarily apply to us.
Right.
So you creating a cure for Black people has a better chance of helping others than you creating a cure for one small group and then hoping that it translates to a group that preceded it genetically, right? It doesn't happen that way. So until we get rid of the white supremacy centered medical system, all of these problems will get worse, specifically for Black people. While those people with resources who are not Black have a much better shot. But even if you got resources as a Black person, it shows that your healthcare is worse off than the average white person.
It's funny how all the ills of the world somehow point back to white supremacy. It's just,
Absolutely. It's intentional.
right, yeah.
Man.
It's just funny how that works, and people try to act like it's not a thing.
And we're going into the elections.
But I will say this, until non-Black people have a narrative space on it, just like marijuana, where it's illegal until they can figure out how to monetize it, we were not as a community allowed to say white supremacy as a word without being discredited. Look at what they did to Francis Quest Wilson. Look what they did to so many people who just tried to talk academically about the results of what you're seeing.
The institution of it.
They canceled these people. They tried to marginalize it until nowadays. Now you see white researchers talking about white supremacy in medicine.
And that's why I brought up the black lady. I was like, I haven't heard from her since. They killed her.
You never know. We talk about big money.
But it's crazy because when you talk about our people not knowing, and you mentioned something earlier about how the sterilizing of medical tools was just something that they weren't doing, which now seems insane.
Now mind you, that was a step back too. Right. So before that, they were cleaning stuff. So in Africa for thousands of years, since Imhotep, even in Baghdad, and
so that was my point.
They have been doing that.
So when you talk about the bubonic plague, the reason that spread the way that it did was because of filth.
And because they didn't listen to the North Africans.
Exactly.
So the North Africans were doing quarantine, and they had studied quarantine 1,000+ years ago.
Right.
And they knew how to keep sick people away from non-sick people, how to burn the bodies, how to clean your hands, while the Europeans didn't believe in that.
Right. They weren't clean themselves in general. They did, so like.
Same reason why some white people don't use washcloths. They just use the brown.
Well, that's a whole nother.
Pause. I don't know how you clean without washing. That's a pause. I don't even want to think about it.
Please don't be easily offended by that.
But it's crazy how they always talk about how, like, you know, like they'll have you believe that, like, they civilized us when it was actually the other way around.
It's history.
So, exactly. And that is documented.
It's just history.
What was that thing I just sent you the other day with Putin? He busted out that.
Oh, you talking about the Black Madonna?
Yeah,
that's ancient history.
Okay.
But because when you talk about the Moors, you know, when you talk about the Renaissance, you know what I'm saying? That was them. That wasn't just they just got enlightened. When you talk about the Renaissance, you talk about Italy, you know, and the Mediterranean, which is right next to North Africa.
Absolutely. And even the person who's given credit for understanding smallpox and quarantine here, the white scientist that was given credit, he acknowledged that he got that from a slave. He was like, no, I had this slave who was 19 or something. He told me that that his family and all them people have been doing this for thousands of years. He was a smart slave. And he didn't believe him at first. And then it wasn't until more and more people kept dying from, like, the flu and smallpox. He was like, oh, let me try what my slave talking about. And he tried, like, that stuff. It worked. He was like, oh, okay, quarantine, all this work. He published it, became famous, became rich, and then had a dispute with the slave, all because he just wanted to make sure he got a little credit on it once he got free.
Same thing with the movie with Mos Def.
Vivian Thomas. Yep, Vivian. Yeah. And that was at Johns Hopkins, right?
Yeah,
he created the heart surgery that fixes so many of these children. Remember we talked about babies that die. If you go look at a cemetery before 1950, 1960s, and they started developing this stuff, there are a lot of, like, infant, you know what I'm saying, like, burial sites, right? Like, there are a lot of, like you just go and it'll just say, like, you know, 1920 February to May 1920.
They called it blue baby syndrome.
Blue babies because they were dying either at birth or right after birth from heart defects that are just normal variants in our genetic population. These are babies who normally due to natural selection wouldn't have lived. And Vivian developed, he wasn't even allowed to be a doctor, wasn't even allowed to be in the lab when other white people were there.
Yeah.
And he developed the surgery. Not only developed it, when they tried to take credit for it and couldn't even perform it, he had to come help them do that.
Yeah, he had to come in and do it. Yeah.
And that movie is one of my favorite movies.
He died broke though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
So understand that, like, the moral of the story is how many people wanted to be Vivian Thomas after that?
Right.
How many people saw that as a model and was like, okay, well, I want to be the next him. We didn't even know about him really until Mos Def played him, right? We weren't talking about him in school, Black History Month. We'll just keep talking about the same people over and over again instead of really teaching our youth the lessons. And this is why our youth, and when I work with youth in the schools, with my violence prevention programs, my medical programs, because I'm not just talking about it. Me and Christina literally build programs to help create the next generation, train them up, expose them, and we bring them straight to our hospital. But the reality of things is they're so disillusioned with life because we're telling them one thing and we're not showing them nothing that actually makes sense with what we're telling them. So they're like, tell me something that works. Tell me something that's functional. Tell me something that, give me an example of somebody who came from here who I can look up to. So that's why I give them a Christina. Like, she walked these blocks. She been a travel nurse. She is a charge nurse. She has all these certifications. She dressed like you. She probably drive the car you want to drive. All these kind of things. Same thing for the guys. This guy wear the same Jordans you want to wear. He got the same backpack swag. He get his hair cut at the barber that you want to. He got
It's
a
things
house.
we relate to.
You have to
be
do that
relatable.
and they gotta win though. We can't show them examples of broken people because they smart enough to get them. Oh, forget that.
Yeah, why would I want to do that?
Why would? And then on the flip side, we're not promoting that of our artists and entertainers. When low key they're suffering, their truth would help those youth a lot more. But we promote
Out here living
them.
the lie.
Right, we promote them, and they'll tell you this. They don't like how they're promoted to the youth. They'll say, like, I wish that they understood that what I'm going through is not just all peaches and cream. And no matter how much I put it in my songs, if what they see, I don't want to just be on Instagram showing me crying about my guys getting killed. So I'm not going to show that. But if what the youth take from that is something that's not, okay, I need to beware. I need to take this into consideration. And then they look at a professional. They look at a nurse who might make $150,000, 6 figures, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, I don't even know that person. Yeah, my sister does this, but you know, she's struggling or she's this.
And that's a very good point.
Yeah.
A long time ago, they was trying to develop a male mentoring program where they would pick doctors and lawyers and people that look just like the teenagers.
Yeah.
Because they can relate to you if you have the same tattoo, or if you have tattoos, or you wear Jordans, or you got a swag, or you fly, or these situations, rather than a person coming in with a Brooks Brothers suit and a suitcase like, hey, so I'm a doctor and this is what I do. Like, nah, dude come in there with a hoodie and some jeans and some Jordans, like, yeah, so my name is Dr. Such and Such, and this is what I do. The kids are instantly like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I got those shoes.
That's so rare.
I got that. That hoodie is cold, G. Where you get that from? Like, and it automatically connects. I think that's very dope, man.
Yeah, Pierre is one of those kind of people. I would say Christina is one of those people that's always real. She not changing how she talk when she come around our youth. She's the same person that you get that's been there on the south side since she was a teenager. That's what they get.
I can tell she be like, look, fam, this is what's gonna happen to you, G. Like, straight up and down, forward them line.
Yeah. Whatever they told you, like,
whatever you stop eating the Flaming Hots. You know what I'm saying? Past 11 o'clock and all the other shit. Cool that shit out. Cool the hairs
I
out.
don't curse because I'm a professional.
She don't.
I know.
She's a lady.
But
Hey, this has been a very, very dope interview, man. I hate to end it.
Absolutely.
Like, 'cause this is a great conversation. But you got lives to save today.
Oh man, no, we there. You know, unfortunately for her, Christina not working this
I got
weekend.
lives to save tomorrow.
She'll be back. But yeah, man. So it's an honor. You know, you all. I see you all as family, especially through different connections. We right across the park from you all. This is the epicenter of violence too. So I get people can be easily offended. No pun intended. But we have to have more of these conversations, even on a nuanced basis. This just happened downtown. What are we doing about that? We have to always be solution based. Like, we don't because of what we see. We don't have patience for just let's just talk about a problem. And the beautiful thing about Easily Offended is that you all get to the nitty gritty of it. You all try to talk through how to navigate and solve these problems. It's not just, this was something crazy, laugh about it, throw a silly opinion out there and move forward.
Yeah.
So anything you all need from me, from Christina.
Oh man, trust me.
You got
Before
us.
you leave out of here, I need a list of doctors because I'm gonna be over there like, yeah. So my eye twitches.
Hey, them referrals. So I learned that a while ago. And like I say, if we just go and try to get something, or like because somebody told me about that a while ago. It's how it's coded. It's coded because I got charged with something like, why the hell? Well, if you had got a referral for it,
you probably wouldn't have paid it all.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You could have just had a $25-$50 copay, if that. You know what I'm saying. So them referrals. That's why like you talked about, it's important to have a primary care doctor because you go tell your primary care doctor, it's just like, okay, well, here's a referral to this person. Go see this person. You know what I'm saying?
Get that doctor, man.
Yeah, man, go to the doctor. If it's one thing I've learned these last couple of years, man, going to the doctor is important. Go get it checked.
And lean on your healthcare
blood
people.
work,
Yeah.
Get your A1C checked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass out.
Don't wait until you 50 because things are happening to us at a greater rate at this age. I'm 37, but whatever.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that people are dying younger and younger of
Younger.
issues that used to affect our grandparents and now they affecting us. So we need to take it seriously and make sure you take care of your health, whether it's a natural remedy, whether it's a medical, whatever. You need to take care of yourself.
We walk through this journey with you all. So as you talk about getting healthy, me, Christina, all of us, even when we're in that healthcare space, are trying to support each other as we get. So it's not just our patients, right? We walk this journey with everybody. We come from the same streets. We go through the same challenges with our own family, with us personally. There have been healthcare limitations where I'm like, you do realize I'm a doctor, right? Right, like
Right.
you do realize, right? But they don't. So I would say to the public, it's an uphill battle. But I think that if we take baby steps and we do the small things that we can and keep tuning in the same way that we go aggressively pursue other things that we want when we want it, whether it's the guy about the pills or it's the girls in my in basket about should I get a BBL, should I go to Puerto Rico?
I wanted to talk about that a little bit, but we ain't got time.
It ain't nothing to talk about. It's just be safe, be healthy, make good choices.
And
Just
make good choices for your kids.
Because
I feel like a lot of the issues that we have could be prevented.
Absolutely.
A lot of healthcare problems could be prevented, but we got to teach our kids better, and we got to make better decisions for them, whether it's the food they eat or the activities they in.
Can't eat Flamin' Hots for breakfast, fam.
We have to make sure that our kids are healthy, because if you build healthy habits now, it'll be easier for them to carry them on.
Flamin' Hots are not even allowed in my house.
Listen.
You feel what I'm saying? My son was a huge flame. I'm like, bro, you not eating flame. They don't sell that in the white neighborhoods. You go to Lincoln Park. Right. You go in Lincoln Park. I swear to God, you go to a 7-Eleven, you would not see any Flamin' Hots on the shelf. I swear to God. I do Uber.
Regular Cheetos.
Like regular Cheetos or the
Cheetos.
jalapeno joints. You ain't gonna see Flamin' Hots. I'd be like, why is this shit only? But you go in the hood,
whole row.
it's 3 shelves of different Flamin' Hot, super Flamin' Hot, Arctic Blue Flamin' Hot. Like, what the fuck is Arctic Blue?
Hey, remember back in the, you said Arctic Blue. Remember back in the day when they first released the blue blow pops? It was like the blue blow pops could give you cancer.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. Crazy
Hey
time.
man, this was a great fucking episode,
Yeah,
man. I really appreciate you guys coming through. You gave me a lot of knowledge.
Absolutely.
And glad to know it's people like out here like y'all that's really advocating, man, doing good work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Social media platforms. Do you want people to check y'all out? Go ahead and shout that out. No, she's
No.
Check out our organization, the Medical Careers Exposure and Emergency Preparedness Program, MedKeep. Go there, donate. This year, we're trying to give out as many trauma kits. We do it every summer in backpacks for the backpack giveaways for not back to school. So we're trying to make it a safe summer. We know it's going to be bloody. We've seen it in our trauma center already. So anything that you all can do to raise that next generation of youth from your own streets that are Black, Latino, that want to be doctors, nurses, EMTs, medical professionals, violence preventionists, hit us up, donate, reach out. If your student wants to be that, they're in high school, they're interested in that, just go on our website, medkeep.com. And same thing on our Instagram, same thing on our TikToks.
Are there ways for people that are not medical professionals to get involved outside of donating?
Absolutely. Just the partnership. So there are organizations. Our youth need everything to survive. Like for them to become a doctor or nurse, it's not just school, right? Like they need, wellness. They need food insecurity. So if you work in urban agriculture, if you work in education and you can help with tutoring and things, if you are someone who has other programs, financial literacy, legal aid, helping them understand street law, these are the things that take our youth off the chessboard. Right. So being able to help them navigate those things is important.
Absolutely.
Oh man. Rell, you got anything to say to the people?
Nah, man, I ain't got shit else to say. I think, like I said, just glad to have y'all on. Glad y'all had the time to donate to us today. And like I said, it makes me sleep better at night knowing there's people out here like y'all.
Man, for sure. Hey, man, thank y'all for tuning in. Real quick, if you're looking for something to do on Tuesday nights, man, make sure you check out my homeboy DJ Mustafa Rocks. Renaissance is hip hop, no cover, 47th the King Drive. It's a great time every Tuesday night, man. Make sure y'all hashtag that brown sugar. I'm your boy L Boogie. This is Easily Offended Podcast. Make sure y'all tune in on every major streaming platform. Make sure y'all like, share, comment, man. We out. Peace.
Peace.
I got cats. They probably smell like cats on me.